Now we have some important shitpost content, okay? We have some important content for you all, which is why we left the left with Dave Rubin on PragerU. So, get ready for some high-level ideas. Okay, we're gonna skip a little bit into it because it covers Dave in the new PragerU documentary, and we watched that yesterday, so we don't need to watch it again. Here we go.
What it's all about.
Which is tough with the kind of oligarchy that they've created around big tech right now. And they say, you know,
oligarchy is just capitalism, my girl.
The solution to mass psychosis is to build a parallel society that functions the exact same, but just does it better.
Yeah.
How do we start to do that? You have an endeavor that you're working on, an app that you are co-founded now. How's that working out for you?
Yeah, well, first I'll say it's tough.
Okay.
Right? Like, before we even get into locals, like, it's tough. We all know what happened with Parler, you know, after the January.
That's right. Okay, wait, some background information. Dave Rubin is trying to shill for an app that he created called Locals, which, despite the name, is not a hookup site. It's like for local conservatives to connect with each other, which honestly is kind of a good idea, but if it was applied to the left, you know, like that would be a really good idea for lefties to embrace on a local level. Maybe turn Mastodon into that. Wait, is that it? Is that what it's called? I forget what it's called. Anyway.
January 6th thing, they basically...
Is it hosted by Epic? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know who hosts Locals.
Just blew up their servers. Everyone uses Amazon, pretty much Amazon AWS as like the underbelly of the internet. That's where everyone's hosting everything, pretty much. Yes, you can have your own server farms, but like it's sort of the ubiquitous thing of the internet.
Exactly.
And after January 6th, they wanted to find somebody to blame for what happened, and they said, Parler, you know, these guys, they have 23 million people up.
Wait, no, that's not what they said. They said Parler. A lot of far-right conservatives who organized the attack on the Capitol are on Parler and have used it to openly call for violence against the government.
It's their meeting spot.
That's their meeting spot, and they're the new guy in town, right? Because they weren't a little operation with 4 million users. They had 23 million. Like, they were becoming a real threat to the Twitter situation and YouTube and Instagram and all that. So they were...
what is... How many users does Twitter have? Twitter user base. Yeah, 206 million. I don't think Parler was a threat to Twitter. What about Facebook? Facebook has 2.89 billion active users. I don't think 20 million people represents a threat to either of these platforms.
A very easy one to just take out and blow up.
Also, yes, the DSA is the leftist dating app, but we just need a better app for the DSA to hook up, okay?
But when that happened, I actually think in retrospect we'll all look at it as a seminal, possibly good moment, because even though it sucks what they did, and I think it's bad business practice and all that kind of stuff, it woke up a lot of people, because that wasn't just, we're taking out Alex Jones.
Right.
Which, by the way, I don't think he should have been taken out. I think, in my opinion, you leave these people up. If they break the law, they got a bigger problem than Twitter or YouTube.
Alex Jones repeatedly broke the law. He's literally legally liable for the damage done to the Sandy Hook, the parents of Sandy Hook victims. Like, for all of the damages. No one wants to host him, not because they actually want to silence him, but because he is a liability for them, a legal liability.
Or whatever. And in retrospect, Alex Jones actually got a lot of stuff right.
Yes.
Now, which is such a weird thing to say.
Alex Jones getting something right, according to Dave Rubin, is like going online and screaming about how the Jews run the world and are part of a conspiracy to use blood libel to suck the adrenochromes out of children. Like, yeah, he got so much right, Dave. Yeah, that these high-level ideas are really difficult to get through your smooth brain. What did he get right, Dave? Well, you know, the chemicals that turned the frogs gay.
Hold on there. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
The Alex Jones was right. You know we can't say that.
Yeah, we definitely can't say that. But it woke enough people up that it was like, oh, we better start figuring out some other ways to do things. So 2 years before, I had started the adventure of creating locals. And really what happened was I kind of saw all this coming because I've been doing the YouTube game for a while.
Yep.
And I was like, well, wait a minute. What do I need to kind of...
By the way, this is the guy that that Dave Rubin is describing as being right. That Dave Rubin, as a gay man, is describing as being right.
No, it's unbelievable. And what we're hearing from the Democrats, both in the House and Senate, is red baiting.
That's on drugs.
Fear mongering.
It was younger.
You know, it is well beyond the point of recklessness. Whether it is Adam Schiff who has maligned me, or whether it is Senator Mark Warner, or whether it is Senator John McCain. But let me tell you something, Alex. These guys are pussies. They talk a tough game. We're gonna get Roger Stone in front of the committee. Gentlemen, ladies, I am ready. I am more than ready.
In fact, let me say this right now. Let me tell, I'm not against gay people. Okay, I love them.
The butt that's coming is something you can feel through the ether of the universe, okay?
They're great folks. But Schiff looks like the archetypal cocksucker with those little deer-in-the-headlight eyes and all his stuff. And there's something about this fairy hopping around, bossing everybody around, trying to intimidate people like me and you. I want to tell Congressman Schiff and all the rest of them, hey, listen, asshole. Quit saying Roger and I never used cussing in 22 years, but the gloves are off. Listen, you son of a bitch. What the...
Yeah, this guy has never sworn before in 22 years.
Fuck's your problem? You want to sit here and say that I'm a goddamn fucking Russian? You get in my face with that, I'll beat your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucker. Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Get that through your goddamn fucking head. Stop pushing your shit. You're the people that have fucked this country over and gang raped the shit out of it and lost an election. So stop shooting your mouth off claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch? Fill your hand. I'm sorry, but I'm done. You start calling me a foreign agent, those are fucking fighting words. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't think I have ever been in a campaign in which we disparage the patriotism of our opponents. Now, I'm not going to go there, but I think Adam Schiff has acted irresponsibly. And I think he needs to be confronted with...
He's sucking globalist dick.
So yeah, Dave, continue telling us about how right and loving and great Alex Jones is, okay? How we doing? We've been covering hard stories today, Big Orange Jew. Now I know how to bait Alex Jones. Oh yeah, just call him a Russian agent. He'll lose his shit.
Free myself from these guys. I need a place that'll host my videos, that'll host my audio. I want a slick app so I can get push notifications out to my fans so that they actually, if I put up a video, it's going to actually pop up on their phone.
Well, Alex Jones did get caught with trans porn on his phone. So I mean, like a lot of these people who like project homophobia or transphobia, look, they're into trans folk. They're into like gay sex. This is all the stuff that they're into. Oh yes, Ostensible Spoon. Yeah. Alex Jones caught trans porn. Yeah. It's from 2018. Alex Jones spotted with transgender pornography on phone despite transphobic rants. Yep. Tab for trans porn appears on Alex Jones' phone during live stream. Yep. Oh, sorry, I don't have it up. There we go. From The Independent. You can even see, like, the little tab open. Wait, for a split second, the camera still trained on his screen revealed an array of open tabs, including a page titled Naughty T-Babe Marissa Minx. T-Babe is a term used to refer to transgender pornography stars, and the clip is believed to show Marissa Minx, described as Australia's #1 trans companion. Yep. Anyway, sure. Alex Jones was right.
We want to be able to communicate.
Alex Jones was right. Trans people are sexy as fuck.
Live chat with people, live video stream, all of that stuff. We started building the company.
Wait, is that why Alex Jones has switched to using printouts? Yo, wait, I didn't put those 2 points together. Oh my gosh, that is why he uses printouts now. He just has too much pornography on his phone. He has too much pornography on his phone, and he cannot trust himself on live stream to not accidentally show, like, his porn. That is incredible. Oh my goodness, I hadn't put those points together. That is... What a fantastic observation. Thank you for that, Dowroomba.
I literally just said on my show, hey, if there's any people with money out there, we're starting this company and we need some help.
Yeah.
And people reached out to me, and that's how we started.
I mean, look, it is fair. I don't go flashing my phone around on stream for reasons, you know. Look, there may or may not be pornography on there. Okay, I'm a human being. All right. That being said, that's why I use a computer in front of me while I'm talking instead of frequently flashing my phone at the camera.
Started getting funding at the beginning. And then the really crazy part is that after January 6th, all of the people that I had gone into offices and said, you know, fund this, everybody always was like, oh, it's a great idea. Of course you should be doing that. Nobody pushed back on the idea. Nobody pushed back on the tech. But they were always like, you know, Dave, your thought of is kind of right and conservative now, and you know, can we put money?
Yeah, Dave, you're not a liberal anymore. Come on now.
Into that, like they don't quite say it, but they're saying it, right? And after January 6th, suddenly everyone realized the temperature just got much hotter. It went from like a cool like 69 degrees to like 87 degrees and humid. Yes. And suddenly everybody was like, it's hot in here. And then
wait, you reminded me of something just now. Can I ask what your position on trans people in combat sports is? I'd like to hear your perspective if I could. Yeah, as far as I can tell, One Hand Wonder, like, there's no meaningful difference between trans people who have, like, been on hormone therapy for, like, it depends on the individual, but, like, 1 to 2 years. Pretty much all of the advantages that one might have disappears. So, like, for trans men, I don't see any problems with them competing in combat sports against cis men. And for trans women, like after 1 to 2 years on hormone therapy, I see no problem with them competing in combat sports against cis women. We've gone through like the science on this numerous times over the past year. And we've gone through like the studies themselves, looking at the data and the methodology, and pretty much every single study that we've looked at either concludes that there is at best a marginal difference, at best no difference whatsoever, and at worst, like, that it depends for some trans people, and there's some debate as to whether like 1 year is long enough or 2 years. But overall, like, the science is relatively consistent on this, and that's that while trans women tend to be taller than cis women, like the muscle mass tends to be about the same, and that if you're going to ban trans women from sports, you should probably also be consistent with that, and like, why not ban taller women from competing against shorter women? You know, like, it starts to break down really rapidly when you start drawing these arbitrary lines, you know? And also, if you look at trans women who have competed in combat sports, they don't have, like, the records that hysteric cis like people tend to overinflate, right? Like, Fallon Fox isn't just like dominating every single fight she's in. You know, like that. She did well. She's a good fighter, but like cis women beat her in combat sports. Like basically anytime a transgender woman enters in like MMA or something, the media goes, look at this transgender woman who beat the shit out of this cis woman, and like they fearmonger about it, but like that happens in MMA. That's what MMA is about. It's about beating the crap out of other people. Like, you can look at the results of cis women fighting cis women, and the results are just as savage. Like, it's not like it's these one-sided fights at all. I'm 6'3". Yo. Also, tall women are queens, and we stan our tall queens, okay? Short women are queens too, and we stan our short queens. Jack loves a tall lady. I love a short lady too. Don't get me wrong. So basically, that's my stance on that. Based on the studies I've seen, and some of those studies have been written explicitly by transphobes, who like wrote op-eds in like the Wall Street Journal about how like trans women represent the dangerous denial of sex. Even researchers who come from that perspective, the worst that they find is like, yeah, after about 2 years it evens out. It's like not that big of a deal.
Suddenly we started getting some of the people that we wanted. So we have great investors who are helping us. Not only, it's because it's not just about the money, it's about the philosophical issues behind how you...
Dave, the people who are investing in your company are doing it for the money. Like that's why they invest.
Do this, the legal issues, the ethical issues, the technological issues, obviously. So we've built something that's really nice, and I would recommend people check out locals.com. And it's just a piece, by the way.
Wait, locals.com? Can we check out Locals right now? Control your destiny. Look, it's Tulsi Gabbard. Wow, it must be a lefty organization. Join. Get started. Wait. Create a Locals account? Okay. Do. I agree to the terms of service, which are as follows. Let's see. Accounts. Responsibilities. Certain restrictions. What is this? I thought there was freedom of speech. User content. What? That your user... You hereby represent and warrant that your user content does not violate our community guidelines? Wait. What are the community guidelines? Last revised on January 11th. Hastily after January 6th. Prohibited user content? Wait, what about free speech, Dave? Content that meets our definition of sexual activity? What? Dave. Dave, what about my freedom of speech to talk about fetish content, okay? What about my freedom of speech? Unless any of the following conditions exist, the content was posted as satire. Okay. As educational. As long as it's not giving you a boner, I guess it's okay to post. Violence. You may not threaten violence, including an intent to kill, inflict serious physical harm, threaten sexual assault against an individual or group of people. Dang. Dave, why are you infringing on my freedom of speech? All right, I'm signing up. We're taking an adventure, all right? Get my throwaway email off screen. When's my birthday? It's 1920. January 1st of 1920. Display name. Well, I'm interested in politics. And okay, I'm interested in politics and writing, education, beauty and fashion, and comedy, and also gaming. Oh, I can't select that. All right. You are so old, I know. Oh, good. I can follow Greg Gutfeld, the funniest person. And Dave Rubin. I refuse to even pretend to follow Dave Rubin. Ooh, we can follow Scott Adams. And American Contingency. Oh, Doug Tennepool, like the creator of Earthworm Jim. Look at that. Don Trump Jr. I can follow PragerU and Babylon Bee. Paul Joseph Watson. Yo, we can follow a Q content creator. Oh, Lumberjack Logic, I need to know that. Trigonometry. Hell yeah. And finish. Doug Dimmadome? Let's take a look at my newsfeed.
I am Q, and we are back with Triumphant Thursdays. Thank you very much, Kia. I appreciate you so much for giving us that. We are winning Wednesdays, but Triumphant Thursdays just works so much better. But let's get...
This is locals.com, everybody. Founded by the high-level idea man himself, Dave Rubin.
Back to it. So I've been telling you guys we're winning, and I've been telling you the reason why we're winning is because the people are waking up. People are waking up. They are sheep no more. Now, there's still a lot of sheep, don't get me wrong, but many people are waking up, and very influential people are waking up. So if you guys know, I have zero tolerance for the NBA anymore. They have become completely woke, and I can't do it, right? I'm a huge Houston everything fan. Houston Rockets, Houston Texans, Houston Astros, even the Houston Dynamo, right? But unfortunately, when they started going woke, I refused to give them my business. But
Wait, he has a flag in the background. Don't tread on Trump. Okay.
Super excited to see Bradley Beal. He is a point guard for the Washington Wizards. Was basically ambushed by the media, by the mainstream media, questioning him about his vaccination status. Well, he's a better man than I. He actually gave them an answer. And he said he, like many others, does not understand why he needs the vaccine if majority of others are already vaccinated. And the vaccine...
Because we need even more people to be vaccinated. That's why. If again, even if you're cutting the numbers of, like, death in half, that would still leave millions of people left to die.
Doesn't prevent the illness. He said, let's see, he said... he has personal reasons for why he hasn't taken the vaccine. He has a lot of family that's taken the vaccine, but he's chosen not to take it. He said it doesn't eliminate anybody from getting COVID, right? So anybody is... I'm really hoping
the flag behind him is like a snake, but with Trump's head.
It's everybody in here is vaxxed, I would assume, right? So if you all can still get COVID, right? And the reporter said, yes, but we are less likely to go to the hospital. So let's get...
These people need to understand how statistics work.
This straight. So you are just... It doesn't seem like you're any less likely to get it, according to the studies that are being done. But the goalpost keeps on moving, right? Fauci came out today and said that fully vaccinated is now, they're saying, is 2 shots and you're boosted. That's fully vaccinated now.
For some people. Boosters aren't required for most people.
Whereas now they're saying that no, it's not going to keep you from getting COVID, but...
No one was ever saying that it's going to keep you from getting COVID 100%.
If you get COVID, you won't be hospitalized. Well, Bradley Beal was...
No one said that either. It just makes it less likely. Learn how statistics work.
Actually, right. This latest story coming out, or this latest study coming out of the UK would stand to actually lend credence to what he is saying. And that study is saying that in the last month, let me pull it up here for you. In the last...
Wait, I think I know what he's about to mention. It's a study from Wales that shows that Wales has 2/3 of people who are vaccinated and in the hospital. 2/3 of their hospitalized people are vaccinated. But that's literally because there is 1/3 of the population that's unvaccinated. So the unvaccinated people are giving it to each other, and also vaccinated people who are old still have a pretty good chance of winding up in the hospital. Like, it just makes it less likely for you to get it in the first place and get it really badly if you do get it. So less likely doesn't mean won't happen, especially if you're living in pandemic conditions. Also, you can literally look at the numbers coming out of Wales and see that the unvaccinated are getting sick more often and worse than the vaccinated. Like, the study he's about to reference literally shows that in graphs that are side by side.
That the 87% of the COVID cases, in the past week, 87% of the COVID hospitalizations were vaccinated, okay? 99% of the cases were under 60 years old. So it's not just old people getting COVID. It's also many others who are getting COVID and they are being hospitalized, younger people, and they are vaccinated. So to say that you're not going to be vaccinated, you're not going to be hospitalized if you get vaccinated, really and truly is an unfair statement. But what we have to get through is this alone is enough reason for us to be concerned. Let's just assume that everything is on the up and up. Let's assume that the big pharmaceutical companies, even though the Democrats have hated them, the Republicans were in love with big pharma over the years, and big pharma was.
So, here is from the Public Health Wales as of the 24th of September. As you can see, if you are unvaccinated and over 60, you are twice as likely to contract COVID-19 and wind up in the hospital. If you are under 60, you are, and unvaccinated, you are like 3 times, 4 times more likely to wind up in the hospital than your vaccinated companions. So this is based on the Wales data that he's talking about. And when you look at the overall numbers, the reason so many young people are in here is because this is a really big number of people who are spreading COVID. Oh no! I closed the window into locals. All right, we'll check out what comes up next, because we don't need to listen to this guy talk for 3 more days. Couldn't broadcast. What the fuck? All right, couldn't broadcast yesterday or today. Had some household stuff. All right. He sets the perfect trap.
Not remembering exactly who came up with that, but you're probably watching. Thank you so much. Make sure you take credit in the chat. But we have Triumphant Thursday going on right now because we are winning. Guys, I get so much mail from you guys asking, how can you say we're winning? Even my wife says, how can you say we're winning? It doesn't quite feel that way sometimes. And I agree, it doesn't quite feel that way sometimes, but you are not focusing on the right things. Guys, people's hearts and minds are being changed every single day. We are growing in numbers. There are people who may not necessarily consider themselves to be a Trumper, but they certainly consider themselves to be a lover of liberty. And that is what we are fighting for. So John Durham, we've all been wondering, where the heck is this guy? Is he still around? And obviously, as you guys know, he is running into snags here and there because the deep state does not want to be drained. This swamp wants to remain stagnant and stay in power. But John Durham has resolve. I'm so proud of what he is doing. So recently, he just issued a new round of subpoenas. He went after Michael Sussman. He went after 2 lawyers connected to the Clinton Foundation and to the Clinton campaign. But now he is going for the big dog. He is going for Perkins Coie, the law firm.
Yo, these guys are just absolutely gone. They are so gone. Like, imagine in 2021 being still obsessed with, like, Hillary Clinton, someone who hasn't been relevant in politics for like 5 years. Oh my gosh, this is 40 minutes long. We're gonna give this 2 minutes.
Channel, folks, it's in the comments right there. Go over there, subscribe. Much, Josh and Jesus. You know, it's yeah, and elk is awesome. I will do. Hey, folks, if you want to hear the story, I will do a story on my elk. Okay.
This guy doesn't look well.
I just and I've got video footage of the whole trip, so I'll get that done. But so we need to talk about healthy living. Americans need to get off their butts and exercise. They need to walk more, you know, do things like this. So,
I mean, while that's true, I wouldn't take my health advice from this guy.
Okay, that's how we, you know, build our immune systems and, you know, become healthy. It's an awesome story, Constitution Vet. I will give you guys the story, just not on this stream because I got to keep this focused on what I've got. So let me go back to talking about this. Okay, now this again is right.
Wait, Parkside Twan, why are people going to stop inviting me to places?
Right out of NIH. Okay, this is all about false positives. Okay, lab-based POC molecular test positive questionnaire consultation about possible exposure, no symptoms or high risk exposure. Retest a fresh sample obtained 24 hours later, same molecular test platform. Okay, retest again. Was a true positive? Then you go back down here. Okay, negative. Assume false positive. Review by clinician for clearance. Okay to work. So we're getting all these false positives, and yet this is like the gold standard test. Again, I'm just reading you some data from NIH here. You guys can all find this too. Okay. Now, I want to go back to this one. And remember, this is where they told us that it is currently the biggest threat to mankind. Now, this, again, I want to make this very clear. This is right.
exploring the binding efficacy of ivermectin against the key proteins of SARS-CoV-2 pathogenesis, an in silico approach. I don't think this is about studying false positives when it comes to testing.
Right off the NIH. Okay? I mean, I make this very clear. This is National Institutes of Health. So when I read this, I want you to understand.
No, this isn't from the National Institute of Health. This was published in Future Virology. Hence the top line area here where it says Future Virology. This is the U.S. National Library of Medicine that collates all of the journal publications. Yeah, this is a computer simulation. You know, one of the great things about streaming is that it's taught me like a basic level of literacy when it comes to scientific studies, which is something that I didn't really have a ton of when I came into streaming, right? I had like a baseline of knowledge from like my days in college, but like I studied English. But now like I'm like, yo, I've been on these databases before. They're not saying what you think they're saying. Oh, look, it is a webcomic from Dilbert creator Scott Adams. Let's take a look. The FDA announced today that it would not approve the use of natural immunity against COVID infections. A spokesweasel explained, "We love science, but we're not fanatics about it." The spokesweasel continued, "Anyone with natural immunity will need to give it back by Tuesday or else go kill yourself." If anyone needs a spokesweasel for their cause. Yeah. Thank you, Livagar. And thanks for being here. First off, please don't kill yourselves. I was just reading this webcomic by a crazy person. And also, it doesn't hurt you to get the vaccine and also have natural immunity. Man, this locals website is insane. Create community? Wait. I'm gonna create the Riverboat Gang. All right, we're gonna have a community on locals. The Riverboat Gang. Next, this will be about politics and education, and that's pretty much it. And news. Community for socialists and for socialists who want more democracy in the workplace. And to make sure hungry are fed, the homeless are housed, the hungry are fed, homeless are housed, thirsty have water, and the sick are healed. social links. Twitter.com/riverboatjack. And wow, no Twitch integration. Thanks, Dave Rubin. Jack, what am I doing? Upload photo? Alright. Let's put up the peach knife. If I can find it here. Look, sometimes you gotta go into the lion's den, you know, to find people. We're gonna get a bunch of people into the community who are, you know, they don't know what these are. Change profile, photo. There we go. Ideal. Look, you might not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. Aw, yeah. Set up community, baby. How do I get paid on locals? I don't want to get paid on locals. Democracy in government is good. Democracy in business is good. The commodification of goods that people need to survive is good. There we go. We did it. Save changes. We're gonna wake up these locals. That's a Sigma peach? True. Yeah, I mean, basically. That as far as I can figure it out, that's the thing. Okay. I guess I can't post anything. Wait, create an intro post. Intro post. Bitcoin donation? Yo, what? Intro post ID? What? Let me make a post. Alright. I'm bored. We'll see if anything happens. But are you a socialist? I am. Ostensible Spoon, did you not know? Snatch Mouse, thank you for the follow, by the way.
I'm not sitting here going, I've solved the problems of the internet.
Yeah, no.
It's just a piece to that parallel economy that you're talking about.
I've just solved some of the problems of the internet with this shoddy social media knockoff I made.
Yeah, it's a start because there's so many. I mean, obviously, big tech is not the only problem when it comes to the left overtaking things and then subsequently ruining them. Yeah. We live in California, so we know that.
It's true. The left will overtake things and ruin them. Like locals.
That there's so many different parallels that we have to work on. Locals is just one of those, so I applaud you for doing that. Now, a lot of conservatives fight back at us and say, well, why are you even on Facebook? Why are you on Twitter? Yeah. Why are you on Instagram? I'm sure you get that all the time.
Oh yeah, I hate that one. Well, it's so stupid.
Well, Yeah, because there's a financial incentive for you to be on there, isn't there?
But it's so thoughtless, actually, because you don't always concede ground. You don't always just give up
Absolutely.
and constantly retreat. By the way, there are times when it might a retreating sort of tactically does make sense. Like you're like, there's not much left here.
Right.
I know we're going to talk about California. Like
We are.
maybe a tactical retreat of California makes sense. But in terms of, you want to get your stuff out there, like to me at this point, I'm leveraging the hell out of YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and everything else until they say to me, you can't be here anymore. And I have no doubt that will come, whether I say something about an election or I say something about a vaccine.
Or the gays.
Right before I went off the grid, I do my August off the grid situation with no phone or anything for a month. But the day before I did that, I was banned on Twitter for saying that vaccine mandates were coming.
I've got the tweet right
You got
here.
it? Oh man,
ladies
you guys are
and gentlemen.
professionals. Let's see it. Let's see it. Wow.
They want a federal vaccine mandate for vaccines, which are clearly not working as promised just weeks ago. You weren't banned for the vaccine mandate tweet. You're banned for saying the vaccines don't work. That's why. People are getting and transmitting COVID despite the vax. Yeah, because vaccines don't prevent the transmitting of COVID or the getting of COVID. They just reduce the likelihood.
We are.
All right,
Here's
let's see.
from Dave Rubin. Reminder, Twitter banned me for saying they want a federal vaccine mandate back in July. The tweet reads, they want a federal vaccine mandate for vaccines, which are clearly not working as promised just weeks ago. People are getting and transmitting COVID despite vax. Plus now they're prepping us for booster shots. A sane society would take a pause. We do not live in a sane society.
Can I pat myself on the back right there?
I mean,
That
yeah,
is-
none of that's coming true at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I made 3 claims there, and all of those claims are obviously right. Right? Vaccine mandate, right?
Done.
Happening.
Done.
Vaccines obviously not working the way they are supposed to work.
Again, conservatives need to learn how statistics work.
Done.
And now we're all getting booster shots,
Yep.
or if you so choose to
Pain
get the
and
booster
dream.
shot or whatever.
How you doing?
Yeah.
So they banned me for that, and then only, and this is to your point about why you don't just run, only because I had locals, so I was still able to get my audience to start tweeting about it and talking to people, and then because I'm obviously connected to people like you guys at PragerU, I got people to start tweeting about it, and then at some point you can get something to critical mass where these guys, and they're the bad guys in this situation, where even they will suddenly be like, oh man, maybe we stepped in it this time because nothing he said there, because I had the receipts of Biden basically hinting at the mandate and why are we all getting booster shots if it's really working? Like the receipts were there. So you just got to push and push and push and push. And
That's not how receipts work. Receipts are evidence. You don't just like look at a vague statement and say, "See, that's my receipt."
I think if you do, that David guy beat Goliath. So it's like we got a chance.
Right. And not to mention, there's so many people who are on these platforms who are completely impressionable, who are sitting in the fog of everything that's happening right now and looking for a light, looking for somebody to lead them to the truth. And if you can be that person on that platform, then by all means be that person. But now you see conservatives who are just constantly retreating and conceding ground and going, well, we'll just give them that. It'll quell all the unrest for a little while. And I feel like the conservative party is getting a lot more progressive.
Yeah.
I love how conservatives talk about how much the far left is winning, Let's keep pushing, okay? They're scared, baby. Tessistic, thank you for the follow.
I mean, well, this is the thing that, a lot of conservatives are saying now. It's like, well, what did conservatives conserve? Now, ironically, from where I sit, it's like
Dave, you're a gay man. You the reason you were able to get married is because of lefties. Conservatives would love to take that away from you and your ability to adopt children. Public Loser, thank you for subscribing and for being part of the community for 6 months. Take my money for another month in a row. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
conservatives are the last ones conserving liberalism at this point. I had Tucker Carlson on my show recently, and that's what he was arguing. And Dennis Prager has argued this with me, that in many ways he still is an old school liberal, but that has nothing to do with modern liberalism.
Yeah, he's an old school liberal. He wants the liberalism and the hating of gays and transes. And I guess Dave Rubin is okay with the hatred of transes. He's just trying to make sure the Republicans don't hate gays. Or at least he's being used as a shield for plausible deniability about hating gays. We can't hate the gays, we like that Dave Rubin.
Obviously, meaning he believes in rationality and the individual and free thought and an open, tolerant society. That's just not what, obviously, the progressives are doing now. But the more...
Dave, Dennis Prager literally wrote an op-ed, like, 10 years ago about how proud he was that his son had a black friend.
That you give these guys, and I get the impulse. The impulse is like, feed them a little something, and then they'll be satiated, like they'll be enough. But they're like...
Mix Beal, like, Dave Rubin has to do everything in his power to try and stay relevant, because as soon as he's not useful to the Conservative Party anymore, he's done. He is done as soon as they turn against gay folks.
They're like the aliens in Independence Day. Remember when...
This is a strong reference. I'm ready for it.
Remember when Bill Pullman has the psychic connection with the alien Independence Day, and then they ask him, they're like, what was the alien saying? And he's like, they're here to destroy all of us. They're going from planet to planet, and they're just here to take all our resources and destroy all of us.
Yes.
That, in many ways, is what the progressives are here to do. And I really mean that. They are here to destroy this society. They're
Dave Rubin talking about having an open and tolerant society while simultaneously talking about how progressives are an existential threat to society. Okay, sure.
basically telling us that. They don't like America, they don't like the founding, they don't like capitalism, they don't like math. 2 + 2 is now 5 instead of 4, and 3.
Hi everyone, welcome in my new series of video called Fun of Mathematics, and today is the first video of this series. If I say 2 + 2 is equal to 5, would you believe that? I think most of you would not believe that 2 + 2 is equal to 5, because according to the mathematics 2 + 2 cannot be 5, it should be 4. So somehow I break the rules of mathematics and I will prove that 2 + 2 is equal to 5. So question is, how we do that? Well, let me start and prove how to do that. Let us start with 0. Oh no, this pen is empty. Let me use another pen, red color. I'm starting 0 is equal to 0. According to the mathematics, 0 is supported. I can expand this 0, 20 minus 20, that is equal to 0. And next 0 is 25 minus 25. That means this last line supported by previous line, there is no tricks here. I can expand this 20 as 4 times 5, and this minus is here, and next 20 I can expand 4 times 5, make a bracket, and is equal to, again I can expand 25 as 5 times 5, then next minus is here, and next 25 I can expand 5 times 5. Actually it is not 5 minus 5, it is 5 times 5. I wrote minus by my mistake. And now look at the left hand side. You can see this 4 and this 4 is common from
Y'all
this
are
left
so
hand
sad
side
about
equation.
math.
So I can take on 4 common, remaining is 5 minus next parameters is 5 as well, is equal to, from right hand side you can see this 5 and this 5 is common, so I can take one of them common 5, and taking 5 from first on minus 5 from second on. Oh oops, this should be multiplication. I'm taking the common of this 5 and close the bracket. Okay, What you can see from the left hand side, 5 minus 5, and right hand side 5 minus 5, they are same, so I can eliminate both of them from left hand side and right hand side. What is remaining left hand side? 4, and right hand side is equal to 5. I can say 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 and 5. See, I prove here that 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Question is how? Of course, according to the mathematics, it is not possible. I made a very clever mistake intentionally. So your task is find out.
See, learning can be fun. And this is why you don't divide by 0. Well, he wasn't dividing by 0. He was multiplying by 0. Oh, wait. Never mind. Nope, I'm dumb. Never mind. You're right. But it is fun to, like, play around with numbers, right? That is just one of my favorite videos to watch. Give me your maths like he did it on purpose, guys. It's for you to figure out the mistake. It's a learning thing.
0.5 trillion now equals 0. I mean,
Yeah.
this is spectacular stuff. So, like, they're here to do all these things. And when someone tells you what they're here to do, you should believe them.
Yeah, you really should. And it is so explicit. I don't want to hear anybody who says, well, no, they don't say that. They don't say that. Look at when it comes to our founding, just the founding fathers are key documents to the founding of this country. Apparently, those are old pieces of paper that mean nothing and freedom means nothing. And the founding
Well, they are old pieces of paper, but everything else you said was wrong.
fathers were white supremacist Nazis.
Well, they were white supremacists. They weren't Nazis because fascism hadn't been invented yet.
So
It's so stupid because look, especially you, like, and I know we don't like playing the identity game,
sure,
right?
yeah.
Dave almost said the N-word here, but he realized he'd be canceled on social media.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Your skin color happens to be black.
Yes.
Is there anything happening in America that is stopping you from doing anything that you want to do?
No, and funny enough, I'm sitting right in front of a camera running my own show right now.
Yeah,
so-
you are literally living your dream this very moment,
Yes.
fighting for the principles that allowed you to fight that dream. It doesn't mean that every single one of your ancestors that were in this country were treated perfectly, nor my ancestors, nor anyone's. And it doesn't mean that
Yeah, Dave. The way your ancestors in America were treated is very comparable to how her ancestors in America would have been treated. Good observation. High-level ideas right here.
that the whole thing is bad. You know, it's like this idea, they've done something very
Dave, do you think that maybe what happened in the past can affect what happens in the present? Do you agree that time is linear? And that something that happened in the past can have effects in the present or even in the future? Because, you know, that's kind of how history works. Things that happened in the past affect now. And do you think that maybe enslaving a group of people based on their race for hundreds of years might have effects that last to the present day? Because pro tip, that's what's happening. I know, freakily casual. Some chuds experience time in 4 dimensions, but you know, we got to make do with what we got.
very twisted, where it's like everyone before them was so wrong and backwards. And it's like, you know what? I think I'm a pretty decent guy. I don't know that I'm much better, if better at all, than my father or my grandfather or my great-grandfather.
Wait, Dave, your great-grandfather statistically believed that slavery was like a good thing, okay? Are you saying that if your great-grandfather believed in slavery and the supremacy of the white race, you aren't measurably better than your great-grandfather? Because I never knew any of my great-grandfathers, okay? But I'm willing to bet I have some better and healthier views on society than they did.
My grandfathers who both fought in World War II, my great-grandfather who came here with nothing and lived in a tenement house with 6 brothers and sisters, father died at 2 years old, like, you know, had to fight for pennies basically to survive. Like, am I so great?
Dave, if your ancestors did well in like owning a business, was there a risk of like a mob forming outside of their business and burning it down? and then murdering you and your family? No? Was there a chance if one of your ancestors whistled at a white woman that they would have been lynched? No? Well, damn, I guess your ancestors had a little bit better.
You know, and it's like they've done this thing where it's like, forget everyone before you. We're evolved now. Boys are girls, girls are boys. 3.5 trillion equals zero.
Wait, no, you're the one advocating to forget everyone before you. You're the one saying the things done in the past don't matter. Like, and you're free to do anything now. You're the one saying that.
We know everything.
Also, I love how subtly Dave Rubin threw trans people under the bus there. Because again, you know how he is. He's one of those people who's like, I got mine, now you guys can fuck off. Dave, you literally have the right to get married to your current day husband because of trans people. You absolute slimy weasel.
And that's dangerous, man. That's really dangerous.
Forget everyone before you, but if your ancestors committed crimes, they're also your crimes, which is amazing
Right.
to me because it sounds very much.
It's not that the crimes committed by your ancestors are your crimes. It's that the socioeconomic effects of things done in the past continue to have repercussions, and if we do nothing to address that, those repercussions will continue to affect generations of people who deserve to have a fair shot. That's not the same thing as like the crimes of your grandfathers are your crimes. No, the issue is ensuring equality now. Because we live in the now and we can change the now, and that requires addressing those inequalities requires the acknowledgement of what happened in the past. Sticking your head in the sand and pretending the past doesn't affect the present is insanity. Literally insanity.
It's like North Korea to me, but yet we're here in the United States. Now, if this progresses, let's say
we're here in the United States, says somebody who's in favor of Trump, the God Emperor of the QAnon movement.
200 years down the line, if this ideology persists, what are the transgressions that we're committing right now that our future selves are going to be?
Oh man, they'll come for everything. I mean, literally everything. There's nothing that
Well, Dave, I can blame you for the things you're doing right now, like hating on trans people. It's pretty easy, actually. I just listened to the words coming out of your mouth.
can't even imagine what they will come for because it's a movement of destruction. It's not a movement of creation. I mean, the idea, creation comes from you as the individual. You figure out how you can live for yourself.
Dave, that
and
doesn't
by doing
mean
that,
anything.
People say, oh, well, that's somehow selfish. You're thinking about yourself. But it's like, no, if you think about yourself first, well, then you know what happens? You might meet somebody. You might fall in love with somebody. And then you two have a life together. Then you might have kids and you might teach them some good things. And you know what? You've got parents and brothers and sisters and families, and you start building something cool that has some value to it.
No, it's not the woman from the other day.
And then
about
hopefully
the
with
video
tradition and whatever else.
Well,
you can
wait, yes, I think she was in that video.
hand that down to another generation, and that starts with the individual, but we have completely thrown that away.
Yeah.
And it's the most fundamental basic building block of all Western societies, but specifically the United States. And we've basically said, no. We'd rather have a bunch of politicians who've never done anything good for anyone except get rich on our back and tell us how much we need them and take more and more of our stuff.
Dave, you realize the politicians aren't taking more and more of your stuff and like putting it into their pockets? You know that like taxes go to pay for things like roads, Dave. And if you're not seeing the benefits of paying taxes, that's largely because of the military-industrial complex siphoning up all of your tax dollars and doing nothing with them productive for the rest of society. You're the one getting rich off of the backs of other people.
Now said to them, you can tell us how many times a week we have to get vaccinated, and you can tell us whether we're
Dave, vaccine mandates have been supported in the legal arena since like the 1800s. Pretending like this is a new... Again, why are you pretending like the past doesn't matter, Dave? I thought you respected the Constitution. Do you not respect the rule of law?
we're going to go out of our houses or what we have to wear on our faces. And it's like, yes, Nancy Pelosi should have.
Dave, we had the conversation over masks in the 1910s. Cities had the right to issue mask mandates during the Spanish flu. And COVID has killed more people in the United States than the Spanish flu.
Something to do with my life.
Right. And we had Zuby on the show earlier this week, and he made this very interesting point, is that when people get frightened or they're fear-mongered by the media or they get introduced to propaganda, you have two distinct choices you can make. And that is, one, to look up and go, somebody tell me what to do and somebody tell me how to live my life. And the second one is to look inward and look at yourself as an individual and go, well, I know what to do because I am myself. And so many people just took this shot of fear and just looked straight up.
They look up and they also think,
why would anyone know what to do in a pandemic unless they were someone who studied what to do in pandemics?
think that somehow humans who are imperfect, we're all imperfect, obviously, but only if you could get enough of us to believe the same thing, we could create a thing that's better than us. Doesn't really work. I think that can work at very micro levels.
Dave, have you never heard of the scientific method? The scientific method is literally a method designed to be able to collate information to a degree that we have a relatively secure amount of accuracy based on what we currently know on scientific issues, like, say, pandemic science. Doom Prophet, thank you for the follow. We're not creating like Deus Ex Machinas over here. We literally just have flawed methods to get us as close to correct answers as we can. And that is not helped by saying, yeah, just ignore the scientific method and the consensus. Just go with your gut. Like that, no, that doesn't help. That is literally anti-helping.
Where you could have a small community of people that could all come together and build things. Of course, groups can come together over shared ideas and values and things like that and build things.
Absolutely.
Of course. But the idea that like all of these people will create something perfect, you know, that...
Dave! That is almost exactly how you talk about like the Constitution of the United States. Like, you and people like you in the spheres that you run in talk about the Constitution of the United States as if it is this magical thing, this perfect document. The Constitution was literally designed with ideas borrowed from the scientific method, with the recognition that it would be a flawed document, an imperfect document, but it would nonetheless be a living document that would be able to be changed over time and adapt to the needs of the people. And you know what else does that? The scientific method. Except that it changes based on the data that is collected and interpreted by people who are experts in their given fields.
That's what socialism and communism always promotes and promises. But you got to kill an awful lot of people to get there, because suddenly you're like, oh man,
why is she laughing? But also, Dave, how many people has capitalism killed? How many people... Since the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, when capitalism was codified, how many people have been killed by capitalism? The capitalism that fueled colonialism, the capitalism that fueled industrialization, the capitalism that fueled exploitation, and the original death camps, Dave. The death camps were originally designed to work Africans to death in the Congo. That's originally what they were designed to do, Dave. And that they were designed to do that to extract as much profit out of the workforce as possible. And that resulted in the deaths of millions of people in the Congo alone. So, Dave, how many people, if you tally it all up, died from capitalist exploitation? Then you also have to, by the way, add in all the numbers of people who have died because they were homeless, because they couldn't afford medical care, because they couldn't afford to eat. You have to add in all of the numbers of people who died from famines because it just wasn't profitable enough to ship food to their areas. You have to add in the people who died by the thousands and the millions for those reasons as well. And then, you know what? You also have to add in the actual lefties, or sorry, you have to add in the people who died in the wars capitalism started. All of the wars, like the banana republics that were carried out by literal banana companies, all of the overthrows of democratic governments at the hands of like the US State Department for economic benefits, all of the invasions in the Middle East for oil, the proxy wars during the Cold War, the drug trade, the prison industrial complex. All of these things have worked untold numbers of people to death. Suicides due to death or debt. Sorry, not death. There are so many bodies at the door of capitalism. And there are a lot of bodies at the door of socialism too. Don't get me wrong. But like, if you want to play the numbers game, that is not a game that capitalists win. The diseases that came from colonialization. Yeah. How many people died from smallpox? Smallpox that was often intentionally inflicted upon indigenous folks. How many people? So if you want to play the numbers game and chortle about it, I don't think you win that fight. I mean, just look at Winston Churchill in one act condemned millions of people in India to die to famine, just on the off chance that the UK needed some more grain. They literally had grain ships in the harbor while millions of people starved to death on the streets. Or the products put out by companies that are laced with poisons, or the environmental damage done by companies like dropping their toxic waste into water supply systems. The decisions made to save on money, like what happened in Flint, Michigan, to save a couple cents on water. They switched to a different water system, and it hurt everybody and is continuing to hurt everybody to this day until the infrastructure bill passes, in fact. The current infrastructure bill that's being held up in the Senate by conservative Democrats would go and help clean up Flint's water supply, finally. It gives a meat grinder a whole new meaning to me. I mean, yeah, a lot of apples. One of the books I had to read in school growing up was The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. And The Jungle is a brutal look at the meatpacking industry. But it is also a brutal look at capitalist exploitation. Workers would lose their hands in literal meat grinders. And that would just be packed up with the rest of the meat. Like, the capitalism is a meat grinder, and it will grind all of us to dust for just a little bit more profit. Hey, Archangel DeKalb.
he's not perfect and she's not perfect and that one, wants to go out without the mask and this one voted for that orange guy.
But once we're all gone, maybe it will be perfect.
Well, that is.
Maybe we should just,
that is
see
the
ourselves out.
By the way, I love the projection here. These are the people who would happily make content about literally killing leftists. They would happily make that content. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they did when Kyle Rittenhouse shot some people.
Good answer. Yeah.
Well, let's
Don't give him any ideas.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we cut that out.
Well, is a form of that happening now though, on the internet with censorship and stuff? Like they're stamping out the dissenting voice.
Oh man, I love this guy. This guy just comes out and says, "Yeah, we're already being genocided because Twitter banned some people."
Voices and the people who are not beating the drum of the mainstream narrative, and so in a way they're making a utopia and forcing it virtually online by stamping out the voices that do think for themselves or are independent from the mainstream
Very
narrative.
good point.
Well, that's interesting because I think partly what's happening in society right now really is a war between the virtual world and the old school world, the real world where people are actually, in our carbon bodies. That war is starting because in the virtual world, it's sort of all based on thought. We can get everything out real quick. We can make videos. We can get everybody outraged. Everyone's hating on, all that. And then it's leaked into reality where now...
Dave, these things have always been a part of reality. The idea that the virtual world and the real world are separate is a fallacy. The virtual world is where you guys can go and post your alternative opinions, as you guys like to call them. But when in practice, what you do is you go onto these platforms and talk about how trans women aren't real women to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And then some of those people go out and commit actual violence against trans folks. That's how this works.
I mean, look what's happened just in the last week. The really crazy, I would say, this woman is pretty much a crazy person. The governor of New York, who nobody voted for, right? She was installed after they took out Cuomo. She just fired 83,000 healthcare workers because they made the choice not to get vaccinated. These are the same people we were told are the greatest heroes of all time, who put it all on the line to save all of us. And now we're firing them because they don't want to do this. Do we have any evidence that
I'm not changing my mind. New York fires unvaccinated healthcare workers. Let's see. How many? On Wednesday, Governor Kathy Hochul's office indicated that a major crisis had been averted at hospitals, some of which prepared for a staff shortage. Let's see. But by the end of the day, the system had achieved 100% compliance with the mandate. Weird. So they got that. All right. While Northwell, which employs 76,000 people statewide, has begun the process of firing the rest of the unvaccinated staff, it would not provide numbers on just how many workers it would lose. Let's see. Erie County Medical Center had suspended about 5% of its workforce, or 176 employees, in addition to 100 staff members at its long-term care facility. The employees have 30 days to comply with the mandate before they are fired, according to a spokesperson. Hochul said that the healthcare workers fired for refusing the vaccine will not be eligible for unemployment insurance without a valid accommodation signed by a doctor. Let's see. Mayor Bill de Blasio said that roughly 10% of the city's public hospital workforce, about 5,000 people, remained unvaccinated and were not allowed to work. Statewide, 87% of the hospital workers have received at least one dose, up from 84% last week. Nursing homes, however, did hit 92% compliance, up from 70%. When the mandate was first announced in August. So, literally, this is getting more workers in hospitals vaccinated. Which, you know what? That's fine. You shouldn't have employees that can be vectors for a pandemic during a pandemic. Like, that's insanity. When you go to the hospital, you shouldn't be open to getting infected by the pandemic. Like, sorry, do you want to send Mima and Pop Pop to a nursing home when you know that like 10% of the workforce could be like infecting them with the pandemic illness that has very high mortality rates for older individuals? Like, these aren't doctors and nurses, they're support staff. Yeah, fuck that. Get them vaccinated too. The support staff interacts with doctors and nurses. They need to be vaccinated too. What's the benefit for them? Well, Agu, it's largely because they've politicized it. It's turned into a hot button issue that a lot of people are really, really hot about. And they're willing to go to war over it. They're willing to shoot people over it, you know? And so political commentators keep playing into it because it gets them clicks. And politicians keep playing into it and stoking it because it gets them... it gets them votes. It's something to be angry about, and angry people vote.
Anyone's going to a hospital and getting COVID from a health... But even if you ask these things, these are the questions that they slowly will not want you asking.
They go, oh, I think I'm going to delete that tweet. I think I'm also going to unverify you, and I'm going to delete your account. But the hospitals are flooded. We had to fire all these nurses, but
I mean... Yeah. There was literally a guy who died the other day after having a heart attack and being turned away from like 34 different hospitals.
Hospitals are flooded and we can't
I don't want to
handle
say
it.
where we are right this
Helena Pal, thank you for the follow. And Agu, thank you for the follow too.
moment, but there is a hospital about a
Yes.
mile, not even a mile from here, half a mile from here.
Right.
It is empty
I
and
know.
has been empty this entire time. I think last week, we checked the numbers on my show this morning. Last week, you know how many people in LA died of COVID?
No idea. How many?
Ballpark, you guys want to guess? Got anything?
I don't know.
Ballpark
It's making me want to go low. but
Very, very low. I want to say like 2.
few hundred.
few hundred. That's interesting.
I want to say a couple.
Scott.
Scott?
2. You were right.
I said 2.
2.
Okay, there
Wow.
we go.
You were right.
Yeah.
2 people.
Yeah.
But don't trust me. Don't trust me.
Right.
It's on the computer.
Right. And that's the amazing part is that no matter the wealth and the abundance of
I mean, that's largely because 80% of Californians are vaccinated. Like, that, yeah, 80% of people in California are vaccinated. That's probably why their death rate from COVID is so low at this point.
information that we have right in front of our faces, computers in our pockets, people don't even care to look up actual facts. They take the propaganda, they suck it in, and they go, okay, now let me
no, they self-own, but they present it as if it's a win, right? Like, over 80% of people in California are vaccinated. That's why it's like their hospitals aren't full to bursting. There are other places in this country, like in Florida or in other southern states, that aren't even close to that level of vaccination, and they are overflowing.
just regurgitate that, but change the words.
Hasn't it exposed something really dark about humans? Like, don't you think a little bit differently about humanity now than, say, a year and a half ago? Like,
Absolutely.
I go to the supermarket. I mean, I don't really go anywhere anymore, but like,
Yeah, by the way, when you see it exploding in Florida, that's because only 57% of the population in Florida is vaccinated. It's literally a 30% difference.
once in a blue moon, I have to get something.
Right.
But I pretty much live in my bunker at
Or
this
23%, I can't math.
point. But when I go to the supermarket, I see these people with the mask, and they look sort of glazed over, like robots, you know, just doing their thing, and nobody realizes why they're wearing the mask anymore, but everyone's just afraid. They're just afraid of being the person that someone's...
Dave, these people are also afraid of being infected, or of being infected themselves and not knowing and inadvertently spreading it to other people, which is what the mask is for.
going to look at and say something mean, and it's like, you know, the Nazi analogy is way overused, obviously, but you can sort of start to see how this stuff could happen.
Right.
Because we went.
Dave, you're Jewish. Or at least you were Jewish. I don't know if you are still Jewish. I heard rumblings about your conversion. You understand that the Jewish folk in Nazi Germany weren't choosing to wear the Star of David patched on their clothes, right? To protect other people, right? The state was forcing them to, or they would be arrested. Like, you understand the difference? And you understand that there wasn't a pandemic in Nazi Germany where only Jewish folks were like the vector. Come on now.
Went from calling half the country racist, which is what the mainstream media was doing for years.
I mean, that is also true. Two things can be true at once, Dave.
During Trump, now they're racist and they're diseased. You think you might do some bad things to those people if you had the...
Dave, they're literally diseased. We're in a pandemic. What are you talking about? We're literally living in a pandemic, Dave. What? I guess I just can't. The high level ideas are pinging off my brain. I guess I just have too many wrinkles up there.
Power.
Yeah, what do you think the next step of that is? And I think, you know, a lot of people on both sides of the aisle get angry when people use the Nazi comparison. They say it's not an apt comparison. But what other comparisons do you use? There's a lot of other, you know.
Well, other comparisons you could use is like the case studies where people refused to get vaccinated and the courts sided with the state in mandatory vaccinations. I don't know if these people know this, but states can literally shut down interstate commerce in the case of like a pandemic emergency. If it is for the sake of public health, states can lock down their borders. Like that is established law. Yeah, this is young Candace Owens.
Genocides and other things that have happened and atrocities that have happened. And if you look at the building blocks of them, they all start with these sorts of
Well, because
things.
it's
No, actually they don't. They don't start with like Hitler being saying, well, the Jews have to get vaccinated because they're just so dirty. No, actually, if you look at what Hitler's policy was on vaccination, which neither of these two people have done because that would be very inconvenient for their narrative, you'll find out that Hitler reserved vaccines for only the good Aryans in Hitler's society, because the vaccines would then protect the good ones and would continue to infect the bad people in society, aka the degenerates and the Jews. And, you know, it is pretty weird to me watching this, where, like, Dave Rubin in this interview has already, like, thrown trans people under the bus. You know who else threw trans people under the bus? Dave. You know who else did that? Hitler. The books that they were burning were literally research notes about trans people. The reason we don't know a whole lot about trans people right now is because the research was burned when the Weimar Republic was taken over by the Nazis.
No one thinks they're going to be a Nazi,
Yes,
right? No one.
of course not.
Whoever was like, if you took the most prototypical Nazi foot soldier in 1941, if you would have said to them in 1936, do you know that you're actually going to round up Jews and shoot them and put them into ditches
Yeah.
and things like that? Of course they'd say no. Of
Right.
course they'd say no. They didn't. They
Right.
weren't born evil. But the evil collectivist ideas that can turn people against people and make you not look at a human being, but look at, oh, that is a set of ideas that is against me. And now, again, now they're diseased too, and they might share that disease with me.
Yeah.
You can get people to do awful things. Look what's going on in Australia. People are literally walking their dogs and being attacked by military members. I mean, this is, again, find it online while you still can.
All right, we will. Australia. Attack. Dog walker. I found an article from 2011 about a dog walker being attacked by a kangaroo. Here's one of a lady being mauled by a thing. Dog walker almost disemboweled by a kangaroo in 2019. Maybe I have to type in COVID. Irate Lum, thank you so much for the 3 gifted subs. And chat, you have approximately 30 minutes to get your last gift subs during September, okay? If you would like to gift subs, this is the ideal time. Do it on PC, you get 20% off, okay? Rescue dogs shot dead in Australia by a rural Australian council after its interpretation of coronavirus. Okay, well that's just insane. Yo, Calm Like a Tom! Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Wait, whoa. That was a lot of subs all of a sudden. Yo, Calm Like a Tom, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Spinach Monster, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for kicking off this hype train. Let's, I'm actually feeling blood pressure in my head, like a throbbing. Let's chill and just kind of dance a little bit, you know? One second. Hey, Spinach Monster, I'm glad you like the haircut. It was just a little trim, but it paid off for me, I think. Let's go. Let's go with... Here we go. It's me, Natalie Marie. Thank you for gifting a sub to Zen Paki.
The power of love is a curious thing.
Dragon Princess.
Make a one man weep.
Thank
make
you for the
another
100
man
biddies.
sing. Change your heart to a little white dove. More than a feeling, that's the power of love. Tougher than
Box
diamonds,
Fox, thank you for the
bitch like
100
me.
biddies.
Stronger and harder than a bad girl's dream.
Ooh, Spinach
Bad
Monster
one
needs a
good,
sub.
make a wrong one right. Power of love keeps you home at night. Don't need money, don't need fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden and it's cruel sometimes, but it might just
Paladin
save
Lost, thank you
your
for giving a sub to Spinach Monster.
That's the
Power of love.
First time you feel it, it might make you sad. Next time you feel it, it might make you mad. But you'll be glad, baby, when you found that's the power makes the world go round. I don't need money, don't need fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden and it's cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. That's the power of love. Don't need money, don't need fame, don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's strong and it's sudden and it's cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. Oh, yeah. the power of love.
Hey! How you?
'Cause I'm in the stars tonight. So watch me bring the fire, set the night alight.
Shoes on, get up in the morning, cup of milk, let's rock and roll. King Kong, kick the drum and the bop da da bop down. Sing song while I'm walking home, jump up to the top of the run.
If you are unsubbed in chat, speak up now, babes. This is the last hype train of Subtober, or September. Hey, Cerulean Knight.
Like honey, disco overload. I'm into that. I'm good to go. I'm diamond. You know I glow up. Let's go.
'Cause I'm in the stars tonight.
So watch me bring the fire, set the night alight. Shining through the city with a little fucking soul. So I'ma light it up like dynamite.
Bring a friend, join the crowd. Whoever wanna come along. Word up, talk the talk. Let's move like we're on the farm. Day and night, skies alight. Dance to the break of dawn. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the medicine.
Cerulean Knight, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs.
Can I hear the bass boom? I'm ready.
This is Scary
Yeah,
Pockets.
this beat ching like honey. Disco overload. I'm into that. I'm good to go. I'm down. You know I glow up.
Who needs their sub bussy?
I'm in the stars tonight. Watch me bring the fire, set the night alight.
Shining through the city with a little fucking soul. I'ma light it up like dynamite.
Life is dynamite, shining through the city with a little fucking soul.
I have Story Girl. A lot of apples. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. And you put us over the goal into level 5 hype train territory. One more level, guys. Let's get it done. I believe. We got so many bass people in here tonight. Hey, Cross Crescent Creed. Yeah, let's finish the month with a level 5 win. Absolutely. Wonderful. Let's try this one. I haven't heard it yet.
I may not always love you, as long as there are stars above you. You never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you.
This is for you, chat. Kodiak Draco, thank you for the 1,000 biddies. That is so generous. Thank you so much. What happens when you hit level 5? I don't know. We continue partying. And you're right there, Virgin Wooly. Thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, you all get head pads. Story Girl, thank you for the 200 biddies. Chat, you guys got 2.5 minutes left. Let's go! 5,000 bits or 5 subs. Let's go.
Though life would still go on, believe me, the world could show nothing to me. So what good would living do me? God only
I want to listen. I want to listen to this multiple times and figure out how to sing this.
Oh, God only knows what I'd be without you. Oh, God only knows what I'd be without you. God only knows what I'd be without
Fox, thank you for the 100 biddies. Chat, if you do not have a sub, speak up. You guys got 1 minute left. Let's go, babes. Dragon Princess, thank you for the 150 bits. Spinach Monster, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs.
If you want to know why we chose that
Parkside Twan, thank you for gifting the tier 1 sub. The 1 tier 1 sub. Dragon Princess, thank you for the 100 biddies. And Archangel the Cobb. Oh, daddy. Yo, we did it in the final moments. Thank you so much. You did the thing. We have 10 seconds left. Thank you so much for the 105% hype train. I believed in you, chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting my work and making sure that I can keep doing this thing. And as a reward, we're going to listen to If Stevie Wonder Wrote Layla by Eric Clapton.
What do you do when you get lonely? No one waiting by your side. You've been running hiding much too long. No, it's just your foolish pride. Layla, got me on my knees, Layla. Got me begging, please, Layla. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Trying to give you consolation. When you're old man,
seriously, welcome back.
But just like a fool, I went and fell in love with you. And took my whole world upside down. Layla, got me on my knees, Layla. Got me begging, please, Layla. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Make the best of the situation.
Yo, this is a hot jam.
Finally go insane. Please don't say that we'll never find a way. Or just tell me all my love's in vain. Layla, got me on my knees. Got me on my knees, got me begging, please, baby, baby, say Layla. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Hey, darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Darling, won't you ease my worried mind?
It was so good. Ugh, that was so good. Chat, I'm feeling good. I haven't always been down for this band, but it's a bop. Yeah, not every song that they put out is an absolute banger, but like that was real good. All right. Let's try and finish this Dave Rubin video. I know that it's painful, but we can do it if we just stick together and try to ease our suffering with community, okay?
You know, literally officers choking. There, you saw the video of them choking that woman. It's like, we're choking you. We don't want you to.
Dave Rubin, the guy who will make infinite excuses for a police officer choking a black man to death for 9 minutes, but who will immediately decry the Australian police for doing something that I can't even confirm happened when I Google police COVID Australia.
To choke on phlegm because of COVID, but we're going to literally choke you with our hand
Health and
in
safety.
the name of health and safety.
Gosh, and people look, and still, that information's right in front of people's faces. The videos are there, they go viral, and people still look at it and go, well, that's not the United States.
But you know what?
Couldn't be us.
Right.
But Amala, like, if they hadn't pinned her down, she might have gotten violent. You know? I mean, that's the same rhetoric you used for George Floyd.
That's not us yet, but we should be looking at what's happening in Canada. We should be looking at what's happening in Australia and going, you know, they're a little bit ahead of us, ahead or behind, depending on which way you want to look.
Yeah, right.
But that it's happening in front of our eyes, and think about.
Oh, that's Amala. She's like the PragerU Candace Owens, but young.
Say, why isn't that shown on CNN? Why does CNN?
Exactly. Great question.
Why does CNN not find it interesting that Australia basically is a police state now? Why do they not find it interesting that in Canada churches are still closed and they're arresting preachers?
Yep.
We don't find that interesting in America, but we'll argue.
Well, yeah, they're being arrested because they keep breaking the law. That's how the law works, Dave.
About what Kristen Sinema had for lunch or something like that. Yeah.
Because the media conglomerate, they know where this is going in
Yeah,
America,
John Bronkus.
and they know that if we expose this to the Americans too soon, they'll realize that it's going to happen here, and then maybe we're gonna have a revolution we're gonna have to quell. But now they don't have.
I love, by the way, I love that this show can just be like, yeah, if American media talked about what happens in other countries, we'd have a revolution here that we would have to quell. Like, she's just straight up saying, like, conservatives would, like, rise up against the government, and she'd be in favor of that, to be honest. Did that girl get popular on TikTok? She did.
That.
Not yet.
No.
But by the way, to get that to the censorship thing, that's also why more censorship is on the horizon, and it's coming pretty quickly. And I think probably even more quickly than even we'd want to believe. Because
by the way, the name of this video is Why We Left the Left, and so they're going to talk about it later on.
That chasm between what the mainstream will allow you to see and what we're seeing online, that can't exist much longer.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's too wide. It would be one thing if it was like, oh, mainstream is kind of lying about a little bit of stuff, and then you can expose a little bit of it online. But now the chasm is so wide where they lie about everything. We played a clip on my show this morning. Sheila Jackson Lee is rep congresswoman from Houston. She's at a hearing talking about our sovereign and secure southern border. And it's only right-wing media that's telling you that it isn't. Well, we played that clip of her saying that, and then you're not going to believe this. We found videotape online, and we played a video of people running through the border, thousands of people, no social distancing, no mask. And it's like, they can't.
Dave, why would they be social distancing when they're trying desperately to get into America? What? You think they like traveled all the way to the US border and were like, okay, time to social distance? No. They're going into America so they can request asylum. Something that they can only do if they go into America. That is the legal process for getting asylum. You don't have to cross at a port of entry. You don't have to cross at a crossing point. All you have to do is go into America and request asylum, and that's not a crime.
Can't allow that to exist much longer because that is too much. There's too much cognitive dissonance there that they will have to do. So I think things could get much worse very quickly.
Hey, Mad Dog
Yeah,
Seamus.
let's talk about the much worse, the worst case scenario. Let's talk about.
You guys got any booze here?
We actually do.
Yeah, what's going on? Every time you come to my house, there's a lot of booze.
There is. That is very, very true.
All right.
But let's talk about the worst case scenario, and let's assume we all get swiped off the internet. All of us are alt-right extremists. We get taken off the internet. What do we do? What is then our avenue for getting our information out there, for changing minds, for waking people up?
Well, first, I would say before that happens, people need to figure out what their off ramps are. I mean, that's why I created local.
Yeah, thank you so much, Seamus. Yeah, we're partner now, and you know what? We are currently only around 30 people away from breaking 5,100 people following. And I just want you guys to know, I know I'm interrupting this entire segment to do this, but at the end of September in 2020, right? Yo, Tessistic, thank you so much for the subscription. I appreciate it. Remember, if anyone else wants to sub, it's about 10 more minutes, and you have that 20% discount, okay? Thank you, John Brongus. But 1 year ago, I started streaming on this platform. And in September, I was averaging, with the entire month of September, I spent all of September streaming, you know? I had an average of 8 viewers. It was lower than 10. My average viewership numbers right now are in like the 110 range. Tonight is actually like a slow night for my channel right now. Like 95 is actually a slower night for what we've been doing, you know? So we've gone from a sub 10 viewer Andrea all the way to a 110 viewer Andrea in the span of a year. And I hope that a year from now, we can look back on 100 viewer average and be like, psh, baby numbers, okay? Because you know what? And I've said this since a year ago to today. Since a year ago, I said this at the very beginning. We're going to be bigger than Hassan, all right? And we are going to be bigger than Hassan, baby. All right? We are going to keep going. We are going to be top political dog on this platform, okay? Hassan playing video games with AOC? Psh, baby numbers. Baby content. We're going to be playing Among Us with AOC when she's president of the United States, okay? We'll have the president on Twitch playing Among Us. Jack beating Biden in Smash. Yo, I'll beat Biden in Smash and I'll beat Hassan in Smash. They can be on the same team. Doesn't matter. They're already dead. They just don't know it yet. Gonna be playing Among Us with Bernie, yeah. He'll be the one who tells her about Cussy, not Hassan. I'm gonna be playing AOC with Hassan. What? Tell AOC about Shussy. Smash the patriarchy. Yeah. Just say gooey. Yo, Mad Dog, I've been saying since the beginning, we're gonna be doing big Chad numbers, okay? Chad numbers like I don't know, like 1 trillion? We're gonna have 1 trillion, okay? You might say, but Jack, there aren't enough people in the world. Well, guess what? We'll make enough people in the world, alright? I'm being silly, but thank you. Thank you all for being here and for supporting me and for making this a thing, you know? Making this content a thing. Yeah, look, if my audience can't grow by 10 times in the span of a year, multiple years in a row, look, you guys got to start having kids, all right? You're gonna have a jacillion people, yeah. How many streamers have a faithful piggy viewer? Already beating Hassan there. Well, I think there are some streamers out there who have a lot of piggy viewers, but I think in those communities it means something different, Princess Dragon. Or Dragon Princess, my bad. Jack encouraging chat's breeding kink. All right, you guys are getting too degenerate. Time to bring you back down to earth with high level ideas.
PragerU is
It's
on.
true, Dragon Princess. Neville is the cutest piggy viewer.
Locals, like we're.
Oh gosh. By the way, chat. Actual Jake tweeted out a picture of shitty water, like a post from shitty watercolor paintings earlier today while I was still in bed, and I looked at the tweet it was linked to, and it was about a veterinary clinic that had to put down a family dog who loved snow, and they got together and they got like a little snow pile in the middle of August heat for this dog to lay in and spend his last day with owners, and I absolutely started bawling. It was so sad and so cute, and it made me really cry a lot. I'm tearing up right now. And then it made me look up whether dogs actually love us or not, and it turns out that they do. When you and your dog stare at each other, it releases oxytocin in both of our brains. Because your dog feels the same amount of love that you feel for it. Love and comfort. Yeah. My cat loves me, yeah. These are facts. They are facts, right? It's really... it hit me right in the feels. We don't deserve dogs, it's true. My pig loves me. Pigs, yes, pigs and dogs. Very similar. When I stared at my dog, it just seems to twist his medulla oblongata. Yeah. Anyway, I felt compelled to share that about our pet animals. They do love us. We were talking about cats in Ray's chat earlier, and it reminded me of my cat that died earlier this year. Oh, I'm sorry, Entrama. I'm sorry. Lady Raincloud. Nia. How you doing? I hope you're doing okay.
Really blowing up. There's other, you can be on Rumble instead of YouTube, and there's there are some options right now to keep you like sort of roughly safe.
Okay.
But we do need, it's what you said earlier, we need a parallel economy. I mean, I truly believe that at this point. We need different banks. We need different educational institutions. We literally need different restaurants.
Yep.
I really mean that. Like, you will just go...
Yeah, Dave, this is going to end real well advocating for political segregation.
Right now in LA, everything's still freaking mask, and you got that whole thing. We need people that will say, I'm going to open a restaurant, and I'm just going to keep this
you're
thing
not. I'm sorry you're not doing well, but get good sleep, Lady Raincloud. Love you too.
Open. And I'm going to put my butt on the line, and our cops going to really show up and arrest me? Maybe they will. Or maybe we all have to cede this ground. I mean, that's what we were talking about right before we got on, is like, maybe we have to cede the ground and let them burn what should be an incredible city because of this weather and the geography and everything else. And that entertainment once was good, and it was all...
Wait, Dave, you realize the weather and the geography are burning LA? because of climate change. And you oppose climate change measures? Like,
birthed here, like there should be something so awesome about LA,
Yep.
and everyone knows that there isn't anymore. Like that's a pretty depressing reality.
yeah, nobody makes anything in LA anymore.
But there are other places, and I think we will just have to build new things. What PragerU does for education, what Daily Wire, what The Blaze, what they do for news.
Right.
Like we just have to keep building things, but it's like, yes, they will still come for you every which way. So they'll go for the servers,
Who's they, Dave?
they'll go for the payment processors. God only knows what else they could do.
Exactly.
Like that's as I said at the beginning. Like I'm always worried not about the things I can think of. It's the other stuff.
Yeah.
And
Dave just constantly admitting he's a dumb fuck is one of my favorite things.
I don't know what that is, and they do.
They do, and
that's the problem.
we have personal experience with that. I mean, look at everything that happened with PayPal, and you know these banks are all working on all of this CRT stuff and the gender theory.
And the gender theory. By the way, I really do advocate for conservatives to, like, I don't know, maybe we could give them like the freedom ship. You know, the we covered this a couple weeks ago. But there has been like this idea of like a ship that just sails around the world and is basically an autonomous state, like city state. Let's give them that. Let's give them Rapture on a boat, you know? And we'll give them that, and they can see how well their ideas work out, okay? Let's give them the car supermarket. Michael Brooks would have loved dunking on Dave.
Theory, and they're working on alienating people out of their services. And we had our server on JW Player, and they nixed us immediately, and had no real explanation for as to why they did it. Of course, we know why they did it, but there's so many different ways that this could go wrong. And even when we try to retreat and create our own parallel.
Man, it's almost like private companies can refuse you service for a lot of reasons, huh?
Oh, it can go wrong again. So.
Sure, but there is a silver lining there, which is since I've gone dark this whole time, right? I'm giving you a dark.
Give me some
I'm giving you a
optimism,
dark
Dave.
Rubin. I'll lighten it up a little bit. The solution is that as we build things, we will build things based on competency. We will hire engineers based on competency, not on skin color. We will hire doctors.
Oh, Entroma. Entroma and his kitty. I'm literally gonna cry. 2021. Hey, Chloe Hayes. Oh. This is a really good photo. Poor kitty. If I keep looking, I'm gonna cry.
To perform heart surgery and brain surgery
okay,
based
Androma,
on
it's
skill,
good crying.
not on gender or sexuality. So if we do it properly, if enough of us are brave enough to be like, yeah, let's really self-select out.
Dave, how are you gonna self-select out into a company that still can't discriminate against like trans or gay people, Dave? Like the goal your organization has, and the reason people are being denied usage of these platforms isn't because they're conservative. It's because they explicitly are trying to discriminate against like gay and trans folks.
And then what will happen is we'll build good things, right? And the things that they build will crumble.
Yeah.
They will crumble because look what's happening across, look at all of our educational institutions. They're all crumbling because they imported those bad ideas. So let them have those things. Now, the thing that sucks.
Wait, the ideas of public institutions are literally just public funding and then curriculums built by teachers. Like, what are you talking about? The ideas of the conservative right is just privatized schools. That's the idea the right brings to the table. Privatize schools that can discriminate against gays and people on the basis of race. Like, what are you talking about?
Sucks if you live in California. It's like, I don't think necessarily
Chloe Hayes, thank you for the
stormtroopers
follow.
are coming to grab people out of their beds tomorrow. But slowly there will be a degrade of the system. We're seeing that more. Homelessness, the roads suck,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah.
Crime, yeah.
Right. It will just sort of, it'll slowly escalate. But then again, it's always like it slowly escalates and then it really escalates. And,
Yes.
and where are we on that map? I don't think anybody really knows.
Yeah, and at what point do we get trapped in the state that's not serving us at all? Which is a question we get asked a lot on the show. Is California worth saving? And is it worth saving from the inside? Because we're both on the inside here right
I told everyone knows this already, but when the lockdowns first started, so this is like maybe a month in, so something like March or maybe April of 2020, I had Michael Knowles and his wife over for dinner, and we're having dinner, and we were really pissed about California, and like we were just like, all right, we're both gonna get out of here. And then we had some whiskey, and after about 2 hours of whiskey, we were both like, no, we're gonna stay, we're gonna fight and stay. The next morning, I kid you not, the next morning, the Daily Wire announced they were moving to Nashville.
Hilarious.
And he was like, "Whoop, I didn't know, but okay, I guess we're out of here."
bye.
But I said I would fight. I would stay and fight. And then when the recall happened in
I love Dave Rubin and Michael Knowles. They're perfect foils for each other. Just perfectly smooth brains to slip around on one another.
Cali, I was like, I now really have something to fight for the next year. And I gave it everything I had. Obviously, I thought that Larry Elder was the guy to fix this thing. I think he is a good, decent man, and having nothing to do with the color of his skin. And he was treated horribly by the media.
Before I go to bed, I live in Ohio, and a bill allowing healthcare professionals to deny healthcare to LGBT people went into effect a few days ago. The provider is responsible for providing all appropriate healthcare services other than the particular healthcare service that conflicts with the medical practitioner's beliefs or convictions until another medical practitioner or facility is available. Like, the idea that, like, the fight for queer rights is over, like, I don't know, are queer people free in the United States if people can deny them healthcare while they're dying, just because doing so would violate their beliefs? Come on now. We're not free until everyone in America can get healthcare that they require.
The way that big tech even manipulated it, when I was Googling him at the height of the recall, you put his name in Google and like 12 of the first 15 stories.
Well, the good news, Introspective Penguin, is that it will likely fail when it goes to higher courts, but we'll see. We really need the Equal Rights Amendment to pass, and we're really close. We're closer than we have ever been, so don't lose hope, okay?
He's all hit pieces. He's the black face of white supremacy. You know the drill.
Yep.
So the question is, it went poorly, to say the least, the recall. Obviously, it did not go the way I wanted. And is there a glimmer of hope here? I don't know what it is.
Yep.
I honestly don't.
Honestly, one of the great things about watching these conservatives talk with each other is just like how they continually go back and forth and admit that they're just like they've been completely cucked by the milquetoast neoliberal left. Like, sorry, you aren't even being like destroyed by like actual leftists or actual progressives. You're being destroyed by neolibs. Like, that's how embarrassing and pathetic their political operation is. And there's still a lot to work on, Chloe Hayes. But that's the thing. While these conservatives are scary, and there are a lot of them, and they are dipshits, we are winning. And where we need to focus our attention is not on these people. Not on the Dave Rubins. It's fun to dunk on them. It's fun to use them. But the real fight is against neoliberals. It's against Nancy Pelosi. It's in the Democratic Party itself. We need to be pushing people like AOC. We need to be pushing people like Bernie. We need to be pushing people like Rashida Tlaib. Like, all these people. We need to keep on fighting because we are winning. It's just a grinding, slow process. And we need to, if you want it to speed up, we got to get involved and we got to keep fighting together.
That it's 82 and sunny every day.
Yeah.
And it's not humid.
It's true. And we have this discussion all the time.
Yeah.
And at a certain point you think, I think I need to leave these people to really feel the weight of their actual policy changes, feel the weight of their ideology, and that you don't feel it until the boot kicks you, the military boot gets you. And that's the unfortunate reality of it, but it is the reality of it.
Amala, of the left and the right, which side wanted to inflict the military upon protesters using their First Amendment rights? It was Donald Trump who sent black baggers against protesters, who deployed the military against protesters. Good night, Andy.
Yeah.
And to be somebody who sat in the space and fought for so long, and to hear you say it is really interesting.
No, I know. Well, I think a lot of people kind of look to me like, oh, Rubin's like got some hope for Cali. Because, for the whole year of lockdowns and everything, I was on Fox basically every day. I was doing my show, and everyone was always asking me about Cali. And my thing was, well, the recall's working. We got 2 million signatures. We got a great candidate. Like, there was always this hope thing. Now it's like, not only did it go poorly, but, a day after, literally the day after the recall, what's the first thing that Newsom does? He makes sure that in LA they put new mask mandates on, even though nobody's getting sick here anymore. And then what did he do just 3-4 days ago?
Well, people are still getting sick, Dave. They're just not dying. There's a big difference between those two things.
Now it's all mail-in voting where you literally, if you put your envelope up to a freaking soft light like this, you can see right through it. Do you think maybe that would lend itself to cheating? So it's...
Dave, does it though? Does it? Because if it does, that should be reflected in the numbers, Dave. Otherwise, you're just saying shit that doesn't actually come into play in elections. And I think it might be really easy to tell if somebody is holding every single ballot up to the light to, throw them in the garbage or something. Might be pretty easy to find the paper trail on that one, Dave.
It's like if you don't believe in the machinery anymore, a system only works if we believe in it, or at least if enough of us believe in it.
Right.
I don't believe in it, so...
Why, Dave? Where's the evidence for voter fraud, Dave? If there's evidence for voter fraud, you should be able to point to it, Dave. Not just say, vaguely, oh yeah, you might be able to see it if you hold it up to the light. You should be able to be like, actually, there were 10,000 illegitimate votes cast for Gavin Newsom or Larry Elder. And you can't do that because the rate of voter fraud in every single study that has been done on voter fraud is that it is an incredibly small rate of fraud. Something like one in a billion votes. Like literally just astronomically rare in the United States.
Yeah, maybe that's the only option. And it's so another part that's interesting, and a part that we share.
By the way, I love that they're just like, yeah, maybe we just shouldn't be a democracy anymore. Maybe we should just get a leader in, and it shouldn't even be a democracy, right? Just get rid of the democracy. It'd be much better.
We did not always think like this.
No, we did not. I used to be a complete nutbag.
Yeah, me too. If 3 years ago, I would have been on the other side of this argument and probably yelling at you and calling you an extremist.
Yeah.
But now, so more than ever,
Well, imagine being mad at Dave Rubin, though. Dave Rubin is such a, spineless hack. You can't be mad at the guy. He's just so inconsequential and, silly. Good night, Cerulean Knight. Thank you for stopping by.
Like I said, everybody's living in this haze, and if you're not, if you're politically apathetic, now's a greater time than ever to change people's minds and to grab people. What do you think for you is key to changing minds in this craziness?
Well, I'll give you another silver lining, which is that the more hysterical they get, and the more they tell young people to wear masks and don't go out and don't see your friends and don't date and don't do any of the things that young people need to do, young people are waking up. You know what I mean? I know some kids in college, and I go to colleges, and they're frustrated with this Can you curse? You can't really curse on
Yeah.
Twitter. I don't want to upset the good people of Twitter.
Nothing has ever slipped out on this show.
You know, so
says the guy who said Alex Jones did nothing wrong. Thought T Anna, thank you for the follow.
Because people yearn to be free. People
Or Alex Jones did nothing wrong. My bad.
Yearn to think for themselves. They really do. And that's why these people are so hysterical about everything.
Yep.
Because it's anti-human what they're doing, but people want to be free. So I do think they are red.
Listening to the scientific consensus doesn't mean that you're not free, you absolute brainless hack.
Pilling an awful lot of people, the more hysterical they become. And when you hear them say these crazy things, $3.5 trillion won't cost us anything. And what they mean by that is it won't add to the deficit. Now, first off, that's a lie because we're always borrowing money in the first place. So if you spend money, you're spending more than you've got.
Who spent more money? Obama or Donald Trump? Dave, who gave multiple trillions of dollars in tax cuts to the ultra wealthy for no reason? Who did that? Did anyone complain that we didn't have enough money to do it? No. Were you in favor of it because you literally thought that giving money to billionaires would somehow stimulate the economy? Did you see the results of that? It didn't stimulate the economy, Dave. Instead, it went into their personal piggy banks, Dave, and they got billions of dollars richer.
But what their point is, oh, no, we're just going to take it from the rich people and the corporations. Well, you know, if you take money
We gave it to them in the first place.
from somebody else to pay something, it still costs something. You just stole it from somebody else, but it still costs. You
Spinach Monster, thank you for gifting a sub to Thought T Anna.
go to Chipotle and like they're like, all right, you want that burrito? It's $10, and you punch the guy behind you and take his money and give it. It still costs $10.
Yeah.
Dave, it's called taxes. That's how taxes work. Are you just not paying your taxes, Dave? Is that the issue? Good night, scrawny dweeb.
It didn't cost me anything. I just punched this rich idiot.
Yeah.
Like, so everything they say is a lie, and I think the more we expose those lies, the better it is. And you know, the truth will set you free. Like that really is it. I think our message is so much better.
You're right, Dave. No one should pay taxes. You're right. Dave, you just love America so much that you think no one should pay taxes. Gotcha.
And I would turn this on you and say, you know, since I sort of had this evolution or this shift, whatever you want to call it, I can tell you people on the right, libertarian, traditional conservatives, even religious conservatives, whatever it is, people on the right are so much nicer, so much more pleasant, so much funnier, so much more joyous and generous of spirit. And
Dave, you realize most people on the right hate you because you're gay, right? Like, there is a very slim majority of conservatives at this point who like gay people or think that gay people deserve to exist in our society. Like, my dude, they're being nice to you to your face, but like Ben Shapiro thinks that you are like a degenerate. Like, and he's said as much to your face. He's talked about how he wouldn't have gone to your wedding because you're gay.
it's not like that on the left. It's
no.
just they are endlessly miserable. They are oddly competitive about nothing. They always want to be proven right. And what I've come to realize really is that it's something like this. It's basically conservatives, whatever this thing is that we're now part of, conservatives want to understand the world,
Mm-hmm.
and liberals or lefties want to control the world. And that's a very fundamental.
One of the things I dislike about Dave Rubin is that he just says things. He just says things, right? Like, he doesn't have to, like, actually back any of those things up. Like, that'd be like me saying, you know, conservatives just want to eat turkey. And lefties, they just want to eat tofu. Am I right? And it's just like, what? No, there are plenty of people on the left who eat turkey. What does that mean anything? Where are you? How are you basing this? Is it just on your anecdotal experience? Because if so, that's not worthwhile to talk about on like a public platform unless it's like directly relevant. And it's just not.
Fundamentally different thing. I do not want to control the world. I fully accept the world was here before me and will be here after me. I'm okay with that. So I want to understand it as much as I can when I'm here. I don't want to control it, but they want to control it. And how we negotiate that.
Wait, why would you have to negotiate that, Dave? If you have no interest in controlling the world, why would you need to negotiate anything? You should just be chill with anything happening around you, as long as you can understand it.
Is going to be the tricky part.
You're absolutely right. All that just gave me flashbacks to my former self, and I was miserable. I was so angry, and when you're on the left, specifically when you work for the left, so that was a specific experience for me. But you wake up every day to search for injustice and to search for something wrong, even where there's nothing, because oppression is currency on the left. You have to wake up and look for it and look for it and look for it, and of course it's going to make you angry, and you're just a miserable person. And when people don't mimic the things that you're saying, and they don't approve of what you're saying, the defensiveness and just
I just got tired of being angry and looking at stories of oppression, so I stopped and became a Republican. Cool.
The sheer anger that you feel being on the left is nowhere to be seen on the right.
No, it really isn't. And that doesn't mean that everyone on the right is so perfect and so great and that we don't have disagreements and things like that. But I think there's a tacit understanding like, oh, the world exists. It exists. It's a big thing that has evolved over time, and humans are flawed and believe different things, and like the best we can do is kind of manage that while we're here and hope that, good ideas prevail.
Dave, it makes it a lot easier to have high-level ideas that disagree with one another and support a wide variety of different people with different diverse opinions. It makes that a lot easier if people aren't dying because of a pandemic, Dave. You can't be free if you're dead, Dave. That's why the Constitution was written to explicitly defend the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Notice that first one, life. Life is kind of required for the other two things, Dave.
The left is very different on that. If only you gave Bernie, who's never done anything, Bernie in 30-something years of Congress, I think he has, in the Senate, he has one bill, I think, attached to his name, which I think had something to do with it.
That's because Bernie plays politics, my dude. Bernie gets bills. He doesn't care about the glory. He just cares about passing his agenda, which means he's more than happy to let other people take credit for developing bills that he has personally pushed for decades. Most politicians work in amendments. That's mostly how the legislation gets passed. Gosh, Dave Rubin has been working in politics far longer than I. Either he does know this and he's being disingenuous, or he genuinely doesn't know, and I think it's the latter. I think he genuinely doesn't know how any of this works.
The post office or something. He's never worked a real job, but he knows that if you
Bernie Sanders was a carpenter, dipshit.
Just made sure that the government could force people to pay $15 an hour to all their employees, that would be better.
Yeah.
They've tricked people into thinking that saying nice things without thinking about them is virtue, and it's actually the reverse of virtue.
Because emotion is so powerful when it comes to that, and you can tell blatant lies to somebody's face, but so long as they're shrouded with emotion, it works.
Oh yeah, that's big. Well, that's what they
huge.
do. That's why AOC. If you watch AOC, I wouldn't recommend putting it on with volume because it's quite horrific and shrieking. But if you just watch AOC, if you watch her body language when she's talking, it is a little bit like Hitler, and I'm not comparing her to Hitler. But
yeah, Dave, having body language is Hitler-esque. Hitler had arms, AOC had arms, and they both gestured while talking. So I mean, it's a pretty apt comparison here, Dave. The absolute ridiculousness of the extent to which he goes, like, by the way, one of the only reasons he's making this comparison is because people made that comparison to Trump, but I think it carries a little bit more weight when literal Holocaust survivors are comparing Donald Trump and his gesticulations and his mannerisms and his speech to Hitler, and they lived through, again, the Holocaust. I think it's a little bit different compared to, like, a Latina from New York City who, like, gestures with her hands. Come on. Yeah, just literal this face.
But in terms of the overly emotive, that everything is, this has to be happen and it has to happen now. Or you saw that thing with Greta Thunberg, is it Thunberg or blah, blah, blah. That's what you could.
Is Dave is Dave about to compare a literal child who just wants to make sure that there's a planet around for her to Hitler? Because I think that's what he's about to do.
But it's like, if you watch her, this girl, how old is she? She's like
18 now, I think.
Is she 18?
She was 13 when this all started.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, that even proves my point. I mean, this girl is aging poorly.
Yeah.
But it's because she's going on hate. She hates all of us.
Yes.
She hates.
She's aging poorly? What? She just looks like an 18-year-old girl. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Like, yeah, she's aging so poorly. Look at how evil she is. I just sending a shiver down your spine, this one. Also, I believe Greta Thunberg is, like, autistic. Like, she was largely, like, non-verbal for a long time. I don't know. It feels she is autistic. Yeah, it feels a bit shitty of Dave to be talking about how she communicates here. Yeah, she is. I don't think it's called Asperger's anymore, because Asperger was a Nazi. She had selective mutism when she was younger. Yeah. Yeah, aging poorly sounds like a self-report when she's 18 years old.
You know, she kept saying at this speech the other day, I think it was called the Climate for Justice or Justice for Climate thing or something. She kept saying, you know, they've done it wrong. The Democrats have done it wrong. They've all done it wrong. Everyone before us has done it wrong. It's like, man, when that angry little girl gets a little bit of power, do you know what she will do to all of those people who got it wrong? And
nothing, because her concern isn't punishing the people who got it wrong, Dave. Her concern is that there is a planet around when she's in her 70s. That's her that's why she's upset. She wants to be able to have kids and her friends to have kids and not have to live in, like, a blazing hellscape. Yeah, first they came for the carbon in the atmosphere.
And that's a very scary premise.
The sad part about her and why I differentiate her from AOC is that she's being manipulated. And that's been really sad to see a girl who was 13 years old, obviously not cognizant of really the things that she's saying and what she's advocating for, to now be 18 and doing the same thing. It just...
She's literally an adult. At like 15 years old, she sailed across the Atlantic Ocean by herself. What are you talking about? Like, she's not cognizant of what she's saying. Get out of here. Like, that is a girl who's doing exactly what she wants to do.
Well, I think AOC's like, what, 34, and she's being manipulated and doesn't know what she's saying either, so.
What? The infantilization that is happening here is absolutely insane to me. Is this a misogyny thing? I think it is. I think it is. Yeah, imagine a 13-year-old thinking a 13-year-old can't comprehend what climate change is doing to the planet when, like, literally every year California is catching on fire. It turns out when there are places on Earth that are just lighting on fire on their own every single year, and that used to not happen, that tends to be a wake-up call for a lot of kids. Because they're actually experiencing it.
I'm not giving AOC the benefit of the
you're like,
doubt
let
on
me
that.
not.
Also, I love Dave Rubin just casually throwing out that AOC is being manipulated and, like, is just like a dumb idiot who doesn't understand what she's saying. I need to work on getting more ableism out of my language. I'm really bad about that.
I'm not going to let her slide on that one.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about your experience, obviously we both had our little...
Yeah, Smite Night, her videos tend to be like an hour long, and I do not have the usual stomach to cover this, but I figured with Dave Rubin and her, it would be a little bit more interesting. What ableism? I want to try and get more uses of the word like stupid or insane or dumb out of my vocabulary. But it's difficult. I usually just talk without like checking my language like that.
little shift, but you had much of your shift happen live. People got to watch you go through that progression.
Whoa, Dave is only 2 years younger than Alex Jones. Alex Jones has aged very poorly.
That like, and how was that received by the general public?
Well, in terms of how it was for me, I mean, I really was just saying what I thought. Like, it felt like when in those 2 years when it was really happening, so like 2015, 2016, right before I did the PragerU Why I Left the Left video, it was like I was just getting up there. At the time, we were doing my show once or twice a week. I was just waking up in the morning and I was like,
Lucky
"Something ain't
Uranium,
right.
thank you
I'm
for
just
the
going to
follow."
talk about it." Yeah. That really was it. It wasn't planned. It wasn't like premeditated. That was it. But the show,
Smite Night, I need to come up with like a lexicon of words that I can go to instead, you know?
show started to have like a link. Like it sort of felt like a season where it was like, oh, this happened and now this next thing happened, but these things are all connected as opposed to just episodic things that had nothing to do with each other. And people started kind of coming along for the ride. And a lot of people, you know, it's funny, now everybody, or not everybody, but a huge amount of people are like, yeah, the progressives are nuts, the left went crazy, liberal.
Dave, are you about to talk about how the reason you left the left was because you advocated for bombing Palestinian schools? Are you about to talk about that?
Has failed, like all the stuff that I was saying 5 years ago. And I'm not saying I was the first person ever to say it, by the way. When I sat down with Dennis for the first time, for example, and he was talking about dealing with that in like the 80s, that he thought the lefties weren't acting liberal. Or I talked to David Horowitz, who was sort of the first Why I Left the Left guy. This was a guy who was a lifelong lefty. He was a son of Marxists. He was a lefty his whole life, and then in I think 1984 for Reagan's re-election, decided to vote for Reagan, and then wrote this thing about him leaving the left in essence and the way that they treated him so horribly. And now obviously he's a big Trump guy and a conservative. But I was just honest about the thing, and then suddenly what started happening was I was getting crazy amount of hate from the left. Crazy, even though I was saying, guys, we as lefties have to be better. We have to defend free speech. We have to be more open. We can't call everybody racist. I wasn't saying,
how dare you?
Right, I wasn't saying like crazy, evil stuff, but I was getting an unbelievable amount of hate from the left. And then what really I think allowed me to take the next step was I started getting all this love from.
The question is this: how many Hamas members must hide in a school here in LA for us to bomb that school? How many? I don't think we bombed that school under any circumstance here in the U.S. So if we had 100 Hamas members hiding at my kid's school, and they were firing rockets from my kid's school into Beverlywood, you think the U.S. government would bomb that school? They would not bomb that school. And I would fight like hell for them to not bomb that school. Even if my kids were killed by the people who are sending those bombs from that school. Bombing schools is just wrong, period. Period. Whether they have human shields or not. And
look at Dave's reaction here.
It makes me so sad to see so many good people make these ridiculous mental gymnastics to somehow justify that. That is wrong. If we can't get agreement on that, then we can't agree on the 67 borders or anything else. We have to say Israel is absolutely and categorically wrong to bomb hospitals and bomb schools. And you can't just say, well, Hamas is making us do it. That is so weak, and you don't believe it. You don't. You're too good and too smart to believe that, okay? There is under no...
It turned out Dave Rubin was not too good or too smart to believe that.
circumstances, I don't care how many Hamas members are at a school in the U.S., would we bomb that school? We bombed the school because it's full of Palestinians. That's why we bombed them. In Gaza.
You think the United maybe I'm not catching what you're throwing here. You don't think the United States
Dave, how can you not understand what he's saying? It was very clear.
If there was a group of Al-Qaeda terrorists that were shooting rockets towards your house 10 miles away, 15 miles away, you wouldn't want them to bomb that place as they were shooting rockets at your house and possibly digging tunnels under your daughter's...
I would fight like hell for that to not happen if that school was full of children.
And let me tell you,
yeah, it's
so
terrible.
Let me draw
it's terrible. I'm not defending it. It's horrible. War is horrible.
No, Dave, you are refusing to say that it's wrong. That Israel is taking an action that is categorically wrong in bombing those schools. That is wrong.
It's a war crime. You can't. That's murder. That's not war.
Well, that's not wow. Jimmy Dore actually making a salient point. Incredible. I forgot when he was not completely unhinged.
Dave, you keep saying war is horrible. That's not war. That's murder on purpose. Those people don't have defense. The UN guy called the Israeli army, begged them to let the people leave that building who were seeking shelter. They said no. They killed them. That's murder. Dave, that's not war. That's not, and I understand that Hamas is probably wrong, right? But still, I'm not saying that Hamas is right or Israel's right or how to solve this conflict. I'm saying that tactic is a war crime. It's murder. It doesn't solve problems. It makes things worse, and you shouldn't defend it because you kind of are.
I don't know that I'm defending.
Just as a reminder, Jimmy Dore is brain poisoned now, and rest in peace, Jimmy Dore. Okay, Propaganda. Thank you so much for the subscription.
It as much as I think it's easy for all of us to sit here and tell a country under attack what to do.
Yes, it's very easy for me to tell people not to kill children in a school that with a blue UN flag over it.
Let me say
it's really easy. It doesn't take any thought.
You might have a more difficult time.
And if you have to think about that, I say, what's wrong with you?
Jimmy, come on. You might have a more difficult time discussing that if it was your family that was being attacked.
No, that's not right, Dave. Okay?
Is Anna in chat right now? Yo, if Anna is in chat, feel free to come on and dunk on Dave Rubin with me, okay? I'm down for that anytime.
If my family were murdered by Hamas, and they wanted to murder me too, but they're holed up in a school, I wouldn't want to bomb that school. I would just not want to bomb that school, and I don't believe you would either.
Nice intellectual exercise about what we would do in a theoretical situation.
Wouldn't I would not bomb a school with several hundred kids who didn't kill my kids.
All right,
that's
so
not them.
I understand everybody. Let me end on a couple of notes here. One, let's understand that the schools are not being used as schools right now. They're used for refugees who are innocent. Okay, they're not all kids. They're their families in there. I don't think it makes it any better, but just I want to be clear on that.
And they found rockets in the school.
This is from 2015, I think.
And the UN has admitted there's video of it.
No. They found rockets in empty UN buildings. They have never found a rocket in ones that were actually bombed.
I thought there were no empty buildings because they need all the buildings. I mean,
no. I mean, I read that maybe the organization, the news organization that reported that could be wrong, but my reading of that from several sources was the UN turned in rockets that they found in empty buildings of theirs. They said we didn't do this. And by the way, they turned it into Hamas. They say they don't know who to turn it into, right? So I understand your point. But the ones that got bombed did not have missiles in them. Okay, so there's never been any report of that. So, but look, let's keep it real because it is real. It's not theoretical. If there were, in Steve's scenario, if they were firing Hamas, Al-Qaeda, whoever was firing from Mexico, and they were firing it from a Mexican school, America would bomb that school, okay? As long as there was Mexican kids in it. If there were American kids in that school, America would not bomb that school. You know it, everybody knows it, okay? Now, it doesn't make what America does right. No, it would be just as reprehensible, and I would agree with Jimmy and Steve and everybody who's mad at it. Like, don't kill those Mexican kids, even if those rockets are coming towards my family, okay? I can't have you killing those Mexican kids, right? Now, in this situation, you know, I know, everybody knows that if inside that UN protected school, which is for refugees, okay, you had Israelis, you know that Israel would not bomb it.
Yes, war sucks.
Right. So they're saying
Dave literally cannot synthesize this idea. This is incredible.
we are willing to bomb that refugee building because there's Palestinians in there and not Israelis, and we don't care as much about them.
Gosh. Oh man. I love videos of Anna going off on Dave Rubin. It's very funny to me.
These people on the right, but it wasn't that they were like, oh, I agree with you on everything. They were just like, all right, we could see you going through your process. And that's powerful. That's powerful. And then they would say, all right, Dave, well, I still disagree with you on abortion, let's say, but you seem like a nice guy. Like, you can come over for dinner.
Right.
And that feeling, so to just do that live, I think that is kind of what did put it on the map for so many people. And then, of course, I had that moment with Larry Elder that has now been seen like 500
so
gajillion, I think 3.5 trillion times, if I'm not mistaken.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So, you know.
Yeah, watching him get dunked on by Larry Elder is one of the greatest moments in political history.
No, I think there is something super powerful about watching somebody go through their ideological progression, because so often we have these personalities who are just staunch in whatever it is that they believe.
Yeah.
And you got to be this fluid person that people really watched and followed you through your life. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and it really was and
Well,
is.
look, Smite Knight, he's operating on such high-level ideas that it's really hard for him to come down and deal with small-level ideas.
It's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not bullshitting up there. I did it.
No, it's okay.
I done gone,
You're
did
okay.
it.
Oh, Chloe Hayes, I use she, her. Thanks for asking.
I'm not when I'm doing my show, even like I have one producer, Michael, you know him. I send him stories in the morning. We have a little bit of back and forth maybe on how we're going to do it. I don't have anything scripted. I have the title of the story, and I know if I have to throw to a video or something. But then I just share what my thought is at that moment, and I don't pretend that I am something that I'm not. So if you turn on CNN,
Dave.
there was this moment a couple days ago where Lemon and Cuomo, they kept saying that they're real journalists, but people on the right aren't real journalists, and we don't lie. And it's like, first off, I'm not a journalist. I'm a guy that's sitting in my house telling you what I think. Whatever you want to call me is fine, but that's what I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. But the idea that Cuomo pretends, and Don Lemon and Stelter, that they pretend that they're journalists as opposed to activists when they're just parroting Democrat talking points, when they lie about Brett Kavanaugh being a serial rapist and the Covington kids being racist and
Well, the Covington kids were being very racist. Also, there's a lot of evidence that indicate Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted Christine Blasey Ford. Come on now.
Jesse Smollett story and Russia hoax and everything that they lie about endlessly, and then they run cover now every time.
Dave Rubin listing things that are all like 8 years apart.
And Biden does something stupid, or the fact that we all know he has dementia and nobody's allowed to talk about it. So it's like, I'm not pretending to be anything other than I am, and you can like it or not like it, and actually that's just fine with me, but they're pretending.
Yeah.
And again, that goes to that chasm that we were talking about before. It's like, what they're doing is so different from the reality that I live in that I don't know how long a society can last in that situation. Not because I don't want to live in that society, but they don't. That's the difference.
Yeah, they're the ones who are saying they don't want to be here and they hate everything, and then we're the ones causing the problems when clearly that's not the case.
We just want to be left alone.
Exactly.
Just leave me alone.
Brett Kavanaugh's entire defense during his hearing was like, I'm an angry white guy. And it worked.
The government and the media just leave us alone.
Yeah,
that's all we
that's
want. But let's have a conversation about intent, because I view, the average leftist that walks across the street and is talking about Black Lives Matter and we need to allow all legal immigration and all this stuff. I view those as people who have been manipulated by.
Wait, the average leftist who's arguing for all legal immigration?
But let's have a conversation about intent, because I view, the average leftist that walks across the street and is talking about Black Lives Matter and we need to allow all legal immigration and all this stuff.
Yeah, we need to allow all legal immigration. What are you talking about?
I view those as people who have been manipulated by the media, and they truly have the intent of being compassionate and saving the world, which was my intent when I was on the left. But I view the Don Lemons and the Chris Cuomos and the AOCs very differently. Do you think they actually believe that they are doing something that is right, or are they aware?
So this is a great question, because no one really knows, unless I was really in their head.
Sure.
Like, no one knows the answer to that question.
Yeah.
What I can say is that I agree with you on the foot soldier part. The average young person who has been trained to not know if your genitals have something to do with your sex.
Right.
Dave, again, those people are the reason you have the right to marry, all right? I wouldn't be getting so high and mighty.
In a weird way, I don't blame them. They grew up in a very backwards, manipulated world where up is down and left is right and good is bad and all that stuff. So I don't necessarily blame them. I have sympathy for them, and I actually think that
Nixon Plumber,
with the right ideas, we can hopefully get them out of some of that stuff. So the real question is the guys that are driving this.
By the way, Dave Rubin, how often are you checking other people's genitals to see what their sex is? Nixon Plumber, thank you for the follow.
About everything.
Right.
So Cuomo and Lemon, let's say. Like, what is in their heart of hearts?
Yes.
I used to be friends with Don. We used to hang out and go to dinner. He was not crazy.
Now, not so much.
Yeah, he was not crazy. I don't know that person anymore. We never had a negative word between us. One day he just unfollowed me on Twitter, and then I took that as the sign of, okay, we're not going to be friends anymore, so be it. I would have continued that, and I think I would have been reaching out to him.
Well, yeah, he didn't want to hang out with you anymore, Dave, because you were proving yourself publicly to be kind of a dipshit. Thanks, Dragon Princess.
To be like, let's heal some of this stuff. Now it's like, your question is intent, like, they have to be bad. The intentions have to be bad. Well, in their own mind, they're good, because what they think they're doing is stopping Nazis, and because they've become so corrupted, basically by the stuff. And so I
Wait,
can't.
but a lot of the people that they go after are Nazis, Dave.
Can't besmirch the intent. I can besmirch, I suppose, the confusion that leads to it. Do I think that they wake up every day and they're like, let's do evil today? No, I think they have so swallowed the blue pill. They have so just taken the whole bottle and just chugged it, that they genuinely look like, at people like us, and they think we're bad guys trying to unleash something on society, when all we're trying to do is save the very thing that allows them to spout that nonsense in the first place.
And then you try to have the dialogue, and they don't want the dialogue, which is exactly how I was. I painted this caricature of what it meant to be even a classic liberal and a conservative, and I thought, oh my gosh, these are the big boogeymen who they want to see me dead. They don't want to see me be successful in this country. They want me 6 feet under. Yeah. And then you meet them.
Well, the issue isn't that they want you in particular dead. The issue is that they are unwilling to make systemic changes to undo the inequities that have been caused in our society by past discrimination.
Into my crazy right-wing parties.
Yes,
is anyone
I have.
attacking you there?
No, there's no burned crosses.
No burned crosses. Oh, you left early for that one. That was...
Yeah, but did you have that experience of stepping in and going, oh, this is nothing like what...
Yeah, it's true. You can't be racist if you're not explicitly racist. If you're not saying the N-word to black people, you're not racist. That's basically what these people believe.
What I thought this was going to be.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And even now, I sometimes can't believe it. Really, like when I did the Why I Left video for PragerU, suddenly I'm at Dennis's house smoking cigars. And I'm like, wait a minute. 2 months ago, I thought this guy was evil. I'm talking with Larry Elder, and I remember listening to him on the radio when I thought he was nuts, and now he's not. And Shapiro, I thought hated gays, and it's like,
Ben Shapiro told you to your face that he wouldn't respect your wedding. What are you talking about, Dave?
no, none of those things really are true. And, you know, I hang out with Glenn Beck, and he's like one of the best human beings on planet Earth. And none of these things are true. And that yet they'll still be, even now in 2021, if I'm at like some event, like I'll sometimes have a moment where I'm like, wow, I really am part of this. I can't believe I'm part of this. And it just doesn't matter if we have...
Ben Shapiro has argued that homosexuality should still be considered a mental illness. Like, Ben Shapiro thinks that you're mentally ill for being gay, Dave.
Political disagreements.
Right.
It does not matter.
Yeah, when you enter the world, it is very small. You find out very quickly that everybody is just sort of, which I learned very quickly. But I get asked this question a lot, and it's, was there a certain moment where you realized, oh, I'm going down this rabbit hole of I'm changing my ideology? Did you have that moment at all?
I mean, there were a couple moments, like seminal moments for me, where things really like ramped up. So the Larry Elder moment's like the most famous one for me.
Yes.
Two others that I describe in the book, I'll tell you one real quick, is, you know, David Webb on Sirius XM.
Yes.
So David, who is a...
Wait, Ben Shapiro actually has an entire page on GLAAD talking about what he's said. He's argued homosexuality should be in the DSM as a mental illness, targeted LGBTQ inclusive holiday movies, falsely claiming that some cable channels are for religious families, and inferring that LGBTQ people are not people of faith. 47% of queer people identify as religious. And majorities of all faiths support protections for LGBTQ Americans. In an interview, he said he thinks homosexual activity is a sin, and equated sexual orientation with his desire to sleep with many women. Let's see. In response to the Supreme Court ruling that legalized marriage equality, he tweeted, "Words don't mean anything. Laws don't mean anything. The law is apparently what Obama says it is." He also tweeted, "Let's just skip all the suspense. SCOTUS should just declare a constitutional right to whatever the hell they feel like that day. And same-sex marriage will never affect you. By you, of course, we don't mean your business, church, school, or raising your children." Said in a speech, "A man and a woman do a better job of raising a child than two men or two women. Research using government tracking data shows children raised by same-sex couples do as well, if not better in some areas, than children raised by different-sex couples." He said, "This is not a country that discriminates against homosexuals, and that there is a vastly minute amount of discrimination against gays in this country." The Southern Poverty Law Center, using FBI hate crime data, notes that LGBTQ folks are far more likely to be victimized by violent hate crime. The data for 2019 shows 16.7% of hate crime victims were targeted for their sexual orientation, and 2.7% were targeted because of their gender identity. He said being transgender is a mental illness, though I suppose that's something that Dave Rubin agrees with. Ben Shapiro hates gay people. He hates you, Dave.
Conservative who I would say happens to be black. It does not matter. I used to have a show on Sirius XM, and I was a lefty at the time, and I bumped into him in the hallway, and I knew he had a show because in the hallways there, all the studios were in glass, so I would always see this guy in his thing doing his show, and he was on a political channel, and I wanted to do that, so I said hi to him. We started chatting. He's like, "Yeah, why don't you?"
Yeah, I
wish I
like
could do it,
all
David
those.
Webb. He's like, "Yeah, come on, he's got that deep.
He just got a very
Come on
deep.
my show, and I'm gonna do a show." That was horrible.
Oh, we got to send that to David.
Yeah, so how you doing, Webb? He said, "Come on, we'll do a show." So once a week, basically, I would go on his show. I was on the left, he was on the right, and we'd talk it out. And then downstairs from Sirius XM in New York City is Del Frisco's great steak joint. We'd go down, we'd have steak, we'd have whiskey, and we became great friends. And then flash forward a year or two, I'm on the Young Turks, and so now I'm a lefty. I'm on like this far left, progressive network, and they're showing a clip of David Webb. And he's on Fox at the time, and they're calling him an Uncle Tom and a sellout and all of this stuff. And suddenly it hit me, man, like lightning, because it was like, wait a minute, these people who purport to be tolerant and diverse and everyone else is racist and all of that stuff, here they see a black man who's just saying some stuff that they disagree with. He's saying some stuff about taxes, or I don't even know what we were talking about. It doesn't even matter. Yeah. And they think that gives them license to say all of the worst things about him, to attack those motivations.
They were just so mean. He just wanted to make society measurably worse, and they were just so mean to him.
to attack his immutable characteristics. In essence, they're saying he's a traitor to his skin color. I mean, that's racist. And because I knew him, it wasn't just like a guy.
Uncle Tom had a different view of how bad slavery was, right, Dave? Literally, what makes someone an Uncle Tom is a difference of opinion. You understand that, right? Like that is the core of the character from the book Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Guy in a box, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like guy on TV that you don't really know. It was like, this is my friend. This is my friend. And that was one of the moments. It was just so starkly like, who are the racists here and who is not.
And I always say when you're going to go through that change, or at least start to accept other people's opinions, it has to hit you personally.
Yeah.
And that's a strange thing. And it's really hard because we try to change people's minds on our shows and talk to people, but it really has to be a personal experience that truly affects you.
Yeah.
I remember for me at one point when I was working for the left, I was working on a project called the Groveland Four, and it was a documentary that was put out about these 4 black men who were wrongfully accused of rape in Florida. A horrible situation. 2 of them ended up getting killed subsequently after this whole onslaught of attacking happened. And at the very same time that I was working on that project, the Brett Kavanaugh scandal happened. So I'm working on this documentary and going to show kids this and convince them of their oppression, the whole spiel. And this whole Kavanaugh thing is happening in the background. I remember seeing it and being like, we are not treating him the same way we treated those 4 black men, in the same way that we're talking about them right now. And I went to my boss and asked him about it, and he goes, well, it's not the same. Well, why is it not the same? I mean, it's quite literally the same.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, he's a white frat boy looking dude. He definitely did it. He should hang.
Wow.
He should hang. So using the words he should hang while working on a project about young black men in the lynching era of America in Florida. And I remember thinking, oh, now it's personal.
Well, that's why I'm saying what horrible things Greta Thunberg would do.
Yeah.
Because think about what your boss basically said there.
Yeah.
As he's doing it, like the iron.
But by the way, it's pretty rich that on PragerU, Dave Rubin's talking about how the right is very accepting. And here's Dennis Prager in the 90s talking about how even if sexuality is inborn, society isn't required to accept it as the moral equal of heterosexuality. They're just so nice on the right.
The irony is so thick it can't be lost, right? It can't be lost.
Yeah.
And that is the problem when we build our parallel economy, or if we really split off into red and blue to the point where there's almost no overlap, is that the red states will basically want to be like, all right, we're doing our thing. Happy to be here. You're welcome if you want to come, and you got to be decent and, not vote in all the crazies. But the other states are still going to want the stuff because also they're so driven by jealousy. So once they see the disparate outcomes of how the societies will operate, my God, their hospitals actually work and their economies work and their roads are clean. And wait a minute, there aren't homeless people on every corner.
Dave, this exact same argument was used to bolster segregation arguments, right? The argument was, look, the black schools are inferior because black people are inferior. That was literally one of the core arguments of segregation. Separate but equal, Dave. It just turned out that it wasn't very equal now, was it?
And blah, blah, blah. They're going to want in on that.
Yep.
So I don't know how you solve for that. I really don't know. I had Tucker on my show, Tucker Carlson, a couple weeks ago. We discussed it. He doesn't know. I've talked about it with a lot of our friends. And nobody really knows. Do we have to freaking build walls around states? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we have to have National Guard?
What do you... Dave Rubin just casually saying we should wall off all of America. Just casually suggesting we build walls between every single state and call up the National Guard to guard every state border. Like it's an actual solution to anything. The cost of building a wall along one border is impossible. You think building walls between every state would be economically feasible or even work? No.
Guards that are going to protect states, from other states.
Yeah, Dave Rubin, the absolutely not an authoritarian guy, who thinks that the left are the real fascies, just casually saying we need the National Guard to patrol border walls between states.
I mean, these are crazy things and not things that are fun to think about.
No.
But we are in a weird time, and I
It's
think
realistic at this point.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Interesting.
It is what it is.
Well, that's a semi-optimistic way to sort of close it out.
Is it? What was optimistic about? We just need to wall off every single state in the United States. This is incredible.
To build a wall. That was
Do you have any other optimistic things that would be better to?
Yeah, good guys win in the end. That's the truth. That's the true story. It's the true story of humanity. It doesn't mean a lot of bad things don't happen.
Yeah, because bad people have never emerged victorious from any conflict. Only good people ever win battles or wars. If you lose a war or a battle, you're a bad person. Only the just emerge victorious. I feel like I shouldn't have to point out how stupid that is, and how that isn't actually how the world works. But you're right, Pointless. The right actually does believe that, right? Like, people are people. Bad wins a lot in this world, and bad is also very subjective in the world. Poland has some splaining to do. Like, I don't know, the people who committed the Armenian genocide are largely still in power and still perpetuating denialism. Like, what are you talking about? Or like I don't know, the Mongols did very well for themselves. Were they good and just? Probably not. Yeah, John Brongus, it is the good always triumphs. That does kind of undergird the might makes right argument, isn't it? Build the big walls, we'll call them megacities. Oh gosh.
It doesn't mean a lot of unimaginably bad things don't happen.
Right.
But the human spirit figures out a way to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are so evolved now, and we are evolved, and we have so many tools.
Says the man who wants to deport every single immigrant to the United States.
To fight for the things that we want to fight for. And
This is literally from a handful of hours ago. It's me, Natalie Marie.
And the real truth is, so much of the energy that is coming at us all the time, and all of this social justice stuff, it's nothing. It's being amplified by algorithms and all those
Absolutely.
things. But just stand up to these people. Don't let them abuse your.
Aw, TW, thank you for telling me I have cute hair. I appreciate it. I'm sorry you're not staying, but you know what? That's your prerogative.
Kids, if your kid is going to school and being taught because they're white, they're evil, or whatever it is, like.
No, by the way, no one's teaching CRT this way. No CRT oriented curriculum teaches kids that if they're white, they're bad.
Don't let them do that. Like, if enough people would, that's how it will be solved. It is not.
absolutely.
It is not that. Oh my God, we voted for the guy who I really liked, and he got in there and saved me. They're not going to save.
Honestly, Armoring Quills, that's a good observation. We Are Evolved is also a shallow understanding of biology that lends itself very well to eugenics. I would not be shocked to see in like 3 years, 2-3 years, Dave Rubin like giving just literal eugenics talking points.
You can save yourself. That is all you can do.
Yep. Guys,
So
do not
do you
look
have anything
up.
better to do?
Look in.
Yeah.
That's very, very true. Dave.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, do not look up, look in. There you go. Dave.
Yeah, if you don't know something, just go with your gut. You don't need to know what experts think about it. You don't need to know what the scientific consensus is. Look, if you just look at the horizon line, it looks relatively flat. Ergo, the Earth must be flat, guys, and everyone else is lying to you. Just go with your gut. It just makes sense.
Dave, thank you so much for being on the show. Can we talk about how people can support you? I know you have.
Nah, we're done. We're done with you. Oh man, that was too much PragerU.